Let's go 15-month anniversary. One more month for the gold pot.
Good evening, one and all. It is Sunday, it is the end of the week, and it's time that we get into some more good old Warframe. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you're doing well where you are around the world. We do immediately have to address a couple of subscriptions right there in the starting soon screen. Byte Bits with the 15-month anniversary, 15 months of Prime right there. Thank you very much, Byte. Much appreciated as ever. And immediately followed with Flowy Thoughts with the 35 months of support. Also hugely appreciated, saying one more month for the gold pot. Now, I want to address two things there. I do want to address two things on top of the thank yous. One, these were announced back to back, which suggests if you just heard the audio, let's go 15-month anniversary, 1 month to the gold pot. It's definitely not 16 months to that. Two, it's also not 36 months to that. Because 1 year, you get the full pot, which is blue. 2 years, you get the bronze pot, which is, bronze. 3 years, you get the silver pot, like Eliu has. And if I just send a message right now, is this where we find out that I don't actually have the gold implemented? I'm just going to send a smile. Yeah, we don't have the gold implemented. I should probably create some longer pots now that I think about it, because yeah, I mean, there's not going to be many people with 4+ years on this channel at this point in time, but there are some. I should definitely attend to adding some additional pots. A gold pot, and then who knows, maybe it needs to evolve into something else after a pot. Where do we go after a teapot? Because we have the blue, bronze, silver, and gold mug, and then the blue, bronze, silver, and gold teapot. Flo suggesting a kettle. Would a kettle really fit well as an icon? Would it really fit well? I've previously ruled out the spanner, because the spanner is the channel points. A cauldron, says Eliu. Okay, that is a dramatic step up in terms of tea preparation. Tea set? Tea set wouldn't really make for a good badge, unfortunately, Calm. Tea bag? Tea bag feels like a downgrade. Yeah, you've gone mug, pot, tea bag. Doesn't really look the right way. Tea plant? Again, we're just kind of rolling back there. And plants are nice, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have some plants behind you, but we're looking for something ahead of you. A smile? That's your channel, Mirror Ape. That is your channel. Perhaps a smile with an increasingly wide smile over yours. Shuffle them up then, teabag, cup and pot. Oh, but it starts with a cup. The cup is the logo. It's got to start with a cup. Imagine that, you pop yourself into the Kenjinir channel, you're like, oh wow, let's join Kenjinir, you subscribe, and you get a box of little tea bag. You're told you can get your mug after a whole year. You're like, that's what I get? Single tea bag? How about those old tea blocks? I can't have those, they all get thrown into the harbour. A snake? Snake, good work. Cup, mug, teapot. Not enough distinction. You'll find loads of people here who couldn't even tell you the difference between a cup and a mug. They are. First thing, couldn't see my sub badge, forgot I was still on bronze. It's fine. You gave us an interesting conversation all the same. You gave us an interesting conversation out of it, so it's all good on that side there. Also, I think we had... from Petra, I have checked the lights this time to make sure I don't waste my points. Cool, but you didn't actually specify what you wanted. So, you know, Petra, if I wanted to get really particular about it... in fact, I'm having a look at all of your messages since. In the few messages since you put that redemption, you still haven't said what you wanted. And this from the person who complained previously about being so predictable. You then almost demand that we hold you to that same standard. Jacobet, cheers. I know you well enough to know what you meant. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, having had your complaint last time as to being so predictable, what you wanted to do is go for the exact opposite. So Urple, which uses red and blue, you wanted the exact opposite of that, so you wanted green. Got it. See, we're on the same level. We're on the same level. Absolutely dialed in. There was some other bits and pieces as we're getting started that I do wish to have a looky-loo out there. As well with Logrin saying I wasn't prepared for the pre-stream rap tap tap. Yep. I thought it was about time to throw one at the front as well, especially with Spooky Barrow doing Spooky Barrow things. Or was it even Barrow after all? And from LJ, some friends convinced me to get into MTG. You have horrible friends. I say as someone who plays. Yeah. Petra, got my most hated colour. Next time I'll say Urple.
Oh, hey, it's that time again, huh?
Hey! Crescendo Fury with the Prime up onto 15 months. Much appreciated there as well. It is indeed that time again, huh? You and a few others. That something I must have done, because you and Byte actually have a sub-anniversary. You're both on 15 months. So was there something particular I did 15 months ago that just completely wowed you and Byte at the same time, I wonder? Or maybe it's just out of lockstep and just happened to end up where it is now. I don't know. All the same. Also, Petra, what have you got against green? Green is a lovely colour. Screw you, Petra. Green is lovely. Anyway, that's ramblings aside as we get started into things. It's given everyone enough time to kind of wake up, make up their quick cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate and sit down and enjoy the stream. So let's get on with the plan today. That is to have a look at more heavy weapons than merely just Yabasab, because we have had a look at this one. We have had a look at this one, and you know, we got some interesting tests out of it. Got some interesting deeds. I want to see where else we can go with it. But not with this weapon, with the other weapons that are available to us. Now, some of them I do not have the Archgun usage unlocked for heavy weaponry. So we'll just go through the ones that I have got for now and take it from there. As you'll notice, we've got most of the big names here. We got most of the big names. We are ready to go on the majority of it. They'll be fine. ASA Wake Up, what feels like 5 to keyboard. Nope, that one's going past me. Alright. Beljade, purely online MTG, luckily they're not looking to burn my wallet. Well, I mean, you know, it still can be a particular experience. I do have my reservations with some of the design of MTG, but hey, it's popular for a reason. I guess. From Flo, oh Ken, do you have any suggestions on something to bring home from London? Someone I know is going, they asked me what I'd like them to bring back for me. Oh boy, London. I mean, you can basically get anything in London. I think there is actually a shop in London whereupon if you have the coin for it, you can have literally anything. Eventually. But, anything legal, to be just clear. But in terms of what to actually get, I mean, it more depends on what you want. Does that shop the British Museum? Oh, quite the opposite. The British Museum gets anything they want. Quite the other way around. But yeah, no, it really comes down to the kind of thing you would want. Like, after all, London is a city. It's just a city at the end of the day. Yeah, it is the capital city of England and indeed the entirety of the United Kingdom. It is a very big city, although not the biggest in the world by a long shot. There are bigger out there, but it is still a big city. It is a city of many attractions and interests. But the point still remains as to what would you actually want out of an English city in such a souvenir format? Because if you're looking to explore the culture, you can't really export that. If you're looking to enjoy the cuisine, well, just look at BBC recipes or something else. There's plenty of options to just read straight from. Now, you like to get something typical, but always consumable, so either a food or drink, typically. I mean, a lot of our best examples of food don't exactly come in souvenir format. Some of our best souvenir-sized things should already be in your country, like, for example, our Cadbury's chocolate and whatnot. So, maybe maybe just a good old box of tea bags, so you can experience the true delight of Britain in that regard. We are rather known for it at this point in time, and certainly on this channel here. I mean, I do make quite the point of it, don't I? Otherwise, some local cheeses. If you can get them through customs, they might consider it a biohazard, some of those cheeses, but yeah. We do have plenty of very varied, very interesting cheeses. Box of After Eights? Well, After Eights not sold globally, Petra? I would have imagined After Eight would have figured out how to sell them in other countries. They have those over there? That's what I figured, yeah. There we are, that solves that one. Flo does not need After Eights. I mean, Flo can purchase After Eights, enjoys After Eights. I have no idea what they taste like, because they are chocolate, and that is bad for me. But aside from that, yeah, all good on that. But yeah, if you go for a consumable thing, honestly, a box of tea bags, a proper good blend is going to be the immediate thing I'd go to there. Something like that. Yeah. When do we get the Kentner brand of tea? There are so many steps involved on that, I have no idea where to begin right now. Now, aside from all that, Warzone. Allergic to chocolate? Not strictly allergic, it simply makes me throw up. Which you might think is an allergy, but technically it's not an allergy. It's not an allergic reaction, so I guess it must be psychological, but also there didn't seem to be a simple solution for that of any kind, so yeah, it just makes me throw up. And let's not try finagle the details. There's not some curse to be loopholed out of. It's just chocolate bad. Just chocolate bad. Which was great growing up. Oh yeah, couldn't have gone better to have that. Alright, install smart adapters, go for it. Let's slap a couple of these in here. Get started onto that. Now, with the Warzone is instant firing, as in its hit scan. And the problem with hit scan is that our previous go-to on the other Archgun was to use... Give me a moment. There it is, secondary innovate. But that doesn't work anywhere near as well on something that is hit scan. It just doesn't. So, may not be the way to go. Now, of also interesting note is that it comes with innate heat. So innate heat would seriously benefit from, or rather empower, Cascadia Flare on heat status effect, extra damage. And in terms of heat status, it's only 26%, which means the actual heat component is only 3.2. But then we also have the radial attack, which in this case has a heat component of 7.6%. And then you consider the multi-shot that is involved, and that's going to give it even more. Multi-shot on this is Yeah, there it is. It is that one. Prime dual rounds. Where am I looking all over for? It's prime dual rounds, another 110% on the multi-shot, so it's adding in a bunch there. So I do feel like Cascadia Flare is certainly something that can be worked with. And in fact, if I just equip that now, and then de-equip Verglass, for safety's sake, although I do believe heat from other sources can stack it as well, I want to say. Also, let's just burn these before I forget and max them out. I did burn through basically all of my Phosphor earlier, so I do need to restock.
Do you see anything interesting?
There we go. Okay, right. Back on. There we go. 28. Say, could it be worth slapping all the 60 mods? I mean, I don't know what they've done to deserve the slap, but in terms of slapping them on, the build has not yet taken into account the arcanes. We're in the testing phase. Well, come on in. Okay, right, let's just spawn in a bunch of idiots. Elite Lancers are definitely idiots. There we go, grab our gun. It's mace with a gun. Okay, that's not a huge generation of it. I'm hearing death already. I'm not even trying to aim at anything in particular. Are we? We're not even going to max it out before I run out of this magazine. This is not a small magazine. 324% in 300 shots. Okay, that's not a good rate. If you maintain it, you maintain it. But, like, the fact that it only lasts 10 seconds before losing the entire stack. So if you go 10 seconds without it, you're just cooked. And that's a little less than ideal. That is a little less than ideal there. Okay. That influences the math, and this is why we empirically try things. So as much as theoretically it can be reasonable, there is that concern. Now, there is the absolutely fair point of putting in 60-60 mods. And that is to go with... let's just do it this way. Viral... There we are. Yep, these are the ones. Slap them in there. It was previously corrosive, now it's viral, doesn't really matter to me. The heat component jumps up there to 10.8%. And on the AoE, it jumps up to 25%. So that should do a lot of work in that regard. Let's kill all the enemies, spawn some new ones. Give it a try. Okay, now that is a lot faster. We're at 300%, 400, 480, there we go. Not even half the magazine, just spraying whilst looking at the herd. So it did still take a moment to get there, but once we get there, we get there. So with a 60-60 approach, it does work. Wow. But it does mean dropping down the direct damage in order to achieve that. So it's a little bit of trade-off. We'll have to figure our way through on that. Hi, Ray. Bye, Ray. Dear. Look at it asking, if I slap heat on a sentinel weapon or use Manifold Bond, do sentinel abilities trigger Arcane Hotshot? Oops, I've opened the wrong thing. Arcane Hotshot. So you're talking about Warframe Arcanes right now, which is not what we're looking at. Our ticket's not going to come back anymore. I'm trying to get out this way, Petra. We will see. We will see. I'll do that ding on the mic come through loud. Sorry. Okay, Arcane Hotshot. Wow, I haven't even stacked this one up. Bit closer. Gain weapon crits when using abilities to inflict heat. Honestly, I've never tested it with a companion. What does the wiki say on it, quite honestly? I imagine it's not a new thought. Alright, so with the Cascadia Flare and then switching down to knees, now more status is also nice, don't get me wrong on that. with a rapid firing weapon like this, having more status does work out pretty darn nicely. But how much damage are we losing for that? Assuming we don't bring in elemental damage from elsewhere, we've got 120% here. I think nothing else in the elemental variety, nope. Whereas previously we had 240. Okay. So we are dropping about 35% of our damage. 35% of our damage from that side. Now, if we go with Cascadia Flare over, say, for example, what's it called? Merciless. Merciless will give us 360% damage, and also these are both additive with Prime Revealer Line Barrel, which is 187% damage. This, again, can come out for something else, we can figure into that, but looking at this at the moment, if we go with that Cascadia Flare, and we go with the Prime Revealer Line Barrel, and going with the with the higher status versus the lower status, more direct damage approach. Just flat numbers for the moment, as a comparison's sake, how does that shake up? So we have here the 220% total damage on the elemental side of the equation, because that's 120% bonus there, multiplied by the base, the Rabido, and the flare, gives us a multiplier, just of what we're looking at, of 16.874. Okay, 16.874. Whereas if we swap that around to the Merciless approach, or any other arcane of a similar nature, doesn't matter which of the arcanes you go for, we just look at the flat damage for the moment here. And then likewise, you can keep it this way around. So we now have a 240% elemental bonus. We maintain the same pure damage bonus on everything except for the arcane. Just drop down from 480 to 360. Our multiplier jumps up from 16.874 to 21.998. So that is 30% higher direct damage maximum. Despite the fact that Merciless is that 360% rather than the 480, the sheer increase in direct damage that we can get on our elemental mods makes up the difference there. Now, it only makes up the difference insofar as base direct damage. We haven't considered the primary arcane so far. We haven't considered status effects and how that can affect it, but this does show so far that line of things. Does Crux work on arc guns? Yes. You say, did I miss the Let's Stack Headshot Arcanes test in my attempt to sleep? I'm not sure what test you're expecting that would be in the first place. There you go. What question are you asking with that one? Yeah, as I slap these guys here with this, we do see indeed Primary Crux does step up to the plate. And it does indeed give us a lot more shoot for our shot if we do go solo like that. Do primary and secondary deadhead stack on arc guns? I guess the question is, which stacking are you concerned with? Is it the pure damage? I don't see why not. Is it the headshot damage? I don't see why not. Is it the recoil reduction? I don't see why not. But let's slap them both on. First of all, does it feel like I am using a laser beam? Yes. Yes, it does. Not the slightest bit of movement whatsoever on that. This heavy weapon has some serious inertial dampeners on it. Second, both are stacking at the same time apparently, and have no issue stacking up on this weapon so long as I continue to aim for the head. So if you have something that could be a little bit shaky, this can indeed take away 100% of that shake in your arcanes, and you still get a healthy damage bonus for doing so. So long as you hit the head. Beautiful. As I'm saying, Crux Flare is, as far as I'm aware, a very good combo on most of the arc guns. Sure. I mean, it's about as simple and effective as it will get in a lot of cases, because you're giving yourself a lot more ammo, so you don't have to be Proto or Lavos, or use Dispensary Subsume. You're giving yourself a lot more status, which is something that, let's face it, anything that isn't melee can struggle to come across, and you still get yourself a lot of damage. So yeah, you can get a lot out of that. My wonder is if you would be better off with Merciless or Deadhead instead of Flare, especially when you consider how much status you're going to get from Crux, assuming you're actually using Crux, which if you're equipping it for Flare, of course you're using it. So if you're using Crux here for all of that status, 300%, considering you can only get 120 from 260 mods, how worth it is that? Again, consider, on the elemental side of things, you go from 240% elemental modding to 120%. So that is, you're down to 65% damage. To put on the Flare, even if it's without Prime Libido Barrow, where does that come out? So, the Flare... Sorry, if I do... Yeah, Flare with the 60/60s, we get a multiplier of 12.76. If I do Deadhead non-headshot... One moment. Yeah, Deadhead non-headshot with the 120 mods here, our multiplier goes up from 12.76 to 15.64. Meanwhile, the status, yeah, the status is going to go down. The status multiplier, you drop from having 300% bonus and the 120, so 420 bonus, down to just 300. So you lose, what's that, 23% of your status? To effectively increase your damage by half. I mean, that's one hell of a trade. And yeah, the Arc Guns, their base elemental mods are 120s rather than 90s, so that swings a big part of the discussion there. These mods are literally twice as strong in the elemental department. One of these has all of the elemental power for direct damage as two 60/60 mods. That's a huge increase to say there are no elemental arcanes. Also, why are there no elemental arcanes? Come to think of it, where's the arcane that gives you elemental damage? We have critical chance once, I think. Critical damage in like 3 different places. Multi-shot in the same. We have status chance now. We have ammo efficiency. We have pure damage, headshot bonuses, reload bonuses. I swear we've got various other bits and pieces. We've got weird things that happen on different status effects. Where's the elemental buff in the arcane? And max ammo with a Merciless? There is also that as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Zom saying, my brain's fried, but I feel like there was an assumption that doesn't necessarily stand up. Unfortunately, Zom, with your fried brain and lack of assertion to your... or lack of qualification to your assertion, I have no idea what you're asking me to counter. You basically just said, I don't know, but I think you're wrong. You've not said it in such crass terms, but that is basically the core of what you've just said there. You don't know, but you think I'm wrong. I can't really answer that other than mockingly. You know? You're gonna break your fingers, your phone isn't accepting inputs half the time? Are you sure that's a finger problem and not a phone problem? Just putting it out there. Also, cheers, bye. Ellie saying, I think it might be because of combining elements. It'd be pretty weird to have different elements based on conditionals. I mean, first of all, different elements based on conditionals. We've got various abilities which can give you damage types. Things like your Smite and Fusion, Shock Trooper. You can just pick it up as non-combining things from various other sources. Toxic Lash from Valence Formation, various sources. There is, as Flo points out, melee exposure. We can get corrosive on a melee weapon on demand, so there is that as well. It does exist. Fair point. Very fucking limited, but fair point. Mrs. Station also saying it. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, it's clearly not something that can't happen. It's just weird that it's not really happened. We've gained a bunch of arcanes, which at times you look at and you go, why would I ever use it? Yeah. Corrosive is already combined. That sidestep the problem. Well, I mean, we also have magnetic and radiation mods, so it's not like they're against doing that either. If I recall, there are also viral and gas mods out there, but very restricted. Point is, Ellie, you're raising fair points to have as points if you're on the big old drawing board as to, okay, so what are the things we have to consider when implementing these arcanes, and how do we do them in an appropriate way that makes it where everyone can enjoy their experience of Warframe and understand what's going on? That's fine and all, but none of that answers the question as to why they're not there, because there's very clear evidence as to why that's not a problem. So back to my original point of, isn't it weird that we've only had melee exposure? Which is a bit weird. Zom, we're at that point again where I'm going to leave you with it. I'm going to leave you with it. We've been down this road, and the wasps may or may not be metaphorical here, so I'll leave you with it. Alright, so in terms of the arcanes though, getting a whole bunch of status from primary crooks, if you're already doing that, I honestly say the 60/60 mods are actually kind of wasted. Because at that point, you're just taking away damage to, sure, weight more towards... Actually, no, you're not even weighting more towards those elements. So yeah, you're taking away damage, you're taking away elemental weighting to gain a little bit more status chance. I just honestly can't see that as the right thing to do. I just remembered Theorem, Demulcent, and the Residual Arcanes, those elemental damage buffs. Okay, I mean, they don't really qualify when, first of all, they're kind of shit, and second of all, they're on kick guns only, right? Hey, whoop-de-doo! On kill, create a pool of stuff. And it applies toxin damage to the Theorem Arcane specifically, and Theorem Arcane specifically can include standing in that increases weapon damage by an amount up to that. So yeah, you know, you're correct. It is there, but we have it on a very particular weapon set, in a very particular condition. To then also require a Warframe Arcane on top of it, just to get that buff. And we've tested it in missions, it's not worth it. But you're right, it does exist, and I keep forgetting those peculiarities exist because they're all shit. The technically good for summons, says Jade. There is a use case for them on summons. Again, even trying that, the hoops I jumped through, I was ready to just play Raw Revenant for the rest of my life. Yeah. Point is, we don't really have a lot of options in that regard. Back to the Mausolon though. Back to the Mausolon. NPC cheers. I wish I had an option to hide these unranked arcanes as well, because they're kind of distracting the screen. You look at this here, and from here to here are arcanes I could choose, and from here to here are arcanes that, well, they're just objectively worse to have. Why am I equipping part of an arcane when I could equip the full thing? So, I do the same with mods as well. I would love to have a hide lower ranked mods. So if I only have, say for example, saber rounds, if I only have an unranked saber rounds, I have nothing higher ranked, then show it. But in the case of automatic trigger, where I already have a max rank 1, I don't need to see the minimum rank. I would love to have a hide pointless extra mod filter. And put it just on the screen here so I can toggle it on and off, because sometimes you do want a downranked mod for various reasons. Say for example, a downranked fleeting expertise comes in quite nicely on some builds. But in this case, let's see, how far do I have to go before I see... So there I've got a slightly ranked Polar magazine. And here we have my first fully ranked mod. So if we count below that, that is half, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so that's 27 mods. Objectively, I just do not need to see. Because they're all below the lowest fully ranked mod I have. Yeah, that I would like to see vanished. But hey. Alright, Zom's giving us a fuller answer. Here, let's have a look. Anyways, the important part is Crook's additive damage anyways. As to Crook's Flare or Crook's Deadhead, fair enough. Flare is just really good since running 3 or 4 elements is very easy, especially with flares. We don't need Prime Rapido for initial base damage, and Quick Reload is likely unnecessary since Crooks is heavily changing your firing reloading ratio. Plus Crooks without a dot feels wasteful, though maybe that's just me. You have saber rounds. Ooh, as far as that's very nice and Larkspur. Oh, this is a separate point. Okay. So Zom's got a bunch of different points coming together here. Crucial takeaway, Zom's angling at Rebutal Line Barrel just being bad. Which, yeah, fair point. It does certainly have a reduced value now that we have the Arcanes. I believe we've covered much the same before now, yep. That's okay, Zom. I did ask for specificity after you cried that I was doing something wrong and then talked about wasps in your brain. So it's nice to have details which I can actually talk about and work with. So we have the Prime Rebutal Line Barrel as a potential throwaway mod. You go for the Crook's additive, so Crook's Flare, because Flare, you don't need to do any killing before your damage starts ramping up. Yeah, fair enough, that works. Okay. You say then you can run 3 or 4 elementals. I don't know how much that really adds to it here. Like, are you saying that Flare should be using... I'm not really sure I understand exactly the point there. That feels like a completely different point of... Yeah, if you take this out, you can just use another element in there. You'll have 3 elemental mods. Cool. 4 if you take out Quick Reload, which, honestly, on a heavy weapon build, I can see taking out Quick Reload. Because it's only 2 seconds. Sada Sopal, it doesn't even compare successfully without the Headshot Multiplier, if that gives you your answer. In terms of damage for damage. But let's see, what else from Zombs then? Yeah, Quick Reload is likely unnecessary since Crooks is heavily changing your firing ratio. Yeah. Quick Reload is entirely a Necromech thing. Can I summon Necromech in here? I don't think I can. Nope. So rude. Camera's blurry? Wait, why is the camera blurry? When did that... When did it blur? How long has it been blurred? And... I do not approve of this being so blurry. Okay. Well, seeing as it's not wanting to fix itself, I will have to find a way to fix it. Uno momento. Not you, not you, not you, not you, you. Please give thing to tell camera to stop being stupid. Wait, shush. Need help with camera? Click this to start troubleshooting? No! I'm doing the troubleshooting. Fuck off with your little pop-up. Ooh, we can help you with troubleshooting. I know more than you. Stupid computer. Huh. So this is very interesting. What I just did is I clicked the manual focus button. I didn't actually move the slider, I just clicked it. And it went, oh, that was the focus we're supposed to be on. Oh, my bad. Like I said, computer, I know more than you. Anyway, that little technical doodad aside, oy oy, and people trust ChatGPT with their lives. As I'm saying, Deadhead makes sense to Infernus, more sliders, more single target leaning Archgun, as his big AoE takes kills. Plus I know how good Deadhead Generous Timer feel, though with Crooks I'd still have a dot and not do raw like pure corrosive or viral. I mean, you can do whatever you really want on that. In terms of a dot, there's still a matter of how long do you want your enemies to be alive? On the one hand, I get wanting to have a damage over time, but we lack a faction modifier. This is a heavy weapon, we're expecting heavy damage. How long are the targets standing in front of our damage? Is a serious question with any DOT build. Because even if you get your status all the way up to 100%, which this gun is... I think it's gonna manage it? Yeah, 26% base, 300% bonus to that. It should hit about 100%, it'll be 104%. So you're at 104% status. And let's say you put everything into DOT types. Let's do that. We're gonna go full out on the bits here. So we go combustion rounds into there. I need electric and toxin still, so... Oh, yeah, they're already here, actually. Perfect. And then we just do it... Oh yeah, no, I needed... Yeah, electric, not cold. Like so. There we go. So now we have gas and electric, as much as we can. We have the issue that even at 100% here, we'd still have some impact and puncture left over. So we're not going to get 100% DOTs. If we're going for electric gas, gas doesn't get the benefit of elemental modding. If we went for, instead... What would it be? It would be, well, something like Electric Blast, which I did have on a moment ago. It again doesn't scale quite the same way because of how it utilizes elemental mods. So any DOT or damage status we get is going to be missing out on our elemental bonus some way, somehow, on top of not being all of our status, on top of having a reductive multiplier, a 0.5 multiplier on the actual damage. When we factor all of that in together, when talking DOTs, is that actually increasing your kill speed? And if so, how is your heavy weapon taking that long to kill? Starts to really become the question. If enemies are living more than 1.9 seconds to get to that second DOT from the very start of your weapon dealing damage, assuming it even takes out... assuming the ticks even work in that favor for you, is that what you want from the weapon? So yeah, considering we hadn't even got to damage types as a final choice on that Zom, so a bit of an aside, but is that actually doing the results? Is that giving people what they need? Or is it the equivalent of going /viral in the modern meta? Where, sure, it bypasses armor, but I mean, do you need to? So I was saying, does the cooldown after unequipping Archguns in mission still exist? Yes. If you wish to get around that, regenerate the fuck out of your ammo by being Labos, Protea, or use Dispensary. There are probably other ways I'm not thinking of right now to also regenerate that ammo, not counting the drop boxes from enemies, because you can't rely on those dropping. But in terms of overall buffs, those three are usually the way. Scythe do it as well? Did Scythe do it as well? I'm sure on that. You'd think Scythe would? Okay. The way Mizu's saying that, I don't even know. Oh, now so Misery Stations actually finished their message. Yeah, let's just, for the avoidance of doubt. This is a science build, isn't it? Oops. Well, that seems pretty conclusive to me. Can't pick the fucker up. Alright. As I'm saying, tend to do simply of viral heat, plus generally find I'd rather have setup for possible TTKs, as the differences in small enemies tends to not be hugely noticeable in experience. Okay, yeah, so you want to have, from what you're saying, you want to have a setup which is, one, viral heat, which, considering viral is going to take 2 mods anyway, you're going to be putting a chunk of viral into there. Maybe you can do some finagling on how much viral versus how much heat, which is a conversation I covered before now. Ultimately, yeah, you're angling to have a 3-mod setup already, of which 2 mods are not going to be DOT in the first place, so how far are we taking that conversation? Second of all, as much as you're right, with small enemies, it doesn't really matter. They should die quickly. You'll focus on the bigger enemies. I do wonder more as to just how much of an issue you'll even run into. Like, what are you shaping up there? What is your angle at this point? Is it, okay, because there are heavier enemies and because I want to run heat viral, then what I should do is go the 60-60s on the viral. Because I might theoretically get more heat specifically on those targets to hopefully kill them that little bit faster. As opposed to blank. This is what I'm getting at, Zom, in terms of communicating a point, is you've got to actually nail in the point. It's alright having concepts of an idea, but it's nailing it in so that it is, where's the final conclusion? And I think you have your conclusion, you just kind of talking half steps towards it each time. We're hitting a paradox I forget the name of. That I've walked us from Wasps in Brain to Crux Heat Viral. But it's been a walk. Have I thought about doing Corrosive Blast with the inherent heat? No, I haven't, because I haven't even started on that side. We're talking damage types because Zom wanted to talk damage types right now. After talking Wasps in the Brain. Not going to let that comment go away, by the way. This whole stream has the title Equipping a Few Archgun Arcanes, and we've spent more time going, oh, but what about the minutia? When I've shot about 5 spawns of enemies and summoned a Cytonine. No, I don't have conclusions yet. Do I still have that text overlay of, this is a test? We are testing things. Hold on, what's this one? That's making food back in a bit. No, that's the wrong one. Is it this one? Nope, it's not that one. Is it... I mean, we're not on the test build, but that's close. Point is, yeah. It's live streams. We're making things. When we're making food, what did you miss? I'm going to let the bot respond to you like it has. Right. Cytonine, you shit. Go away. I don't care how good he is, he's shit. It's not important to me right now. Do I have one that says world premiere? As it so happens, I do not. No. That was, after an exhausting series of streams, actually a little bit too much at once. As I was saying, yeah, I haven't been explaining it very well. My blah 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 thing is just because I don't like pure viral or corrosive. Cool. Right. I'm gonna start a new counter. I'm gonna pop this counter down here right now. Let's see, and what's an appropriate name for this? fix what I didn't do. There we go. Zom, you are the first on that counter. There we are. Let's hope that counter stays at 1 today. Yo! Oh god, I'm sorry. I've had this rant earlier about fonts. Specifically the capital I and the lowercase l. Is this Elyssi? Or is this Chrissy? I'm going to go with Elyssi. But all the same, thank you very much for writing in with your community there. Much appreciated. Oh god, it is actually double L. So I'm seeing lots of double L's in the raid message. Okay, fair enough then. I guessed that I got it wrong. Zom, Zom. I swear today is not a hate Zom day. I swear. Zom, you didn't know. Zom, stop. Zom, before you do that, you didn't just use the wrong shoutout command, you also spelt the person's name wrong when copy-paste is right there. I'm going to do you a favor and just handle it for you, alright? You're having a day, Zom. You're having a day. And let's keep it right there in the middle. Okay, we do it like this. We copy-paste and do the shout-out. There we are. For those of you just arriving, Zom is really having a day of days. Zom may literally have wasps in the brain at this point. We're not certain. But there we are. Can a mod be 2035 for their own sanity? Unfortunately not. It also demods them. We just have to hope that they have enough in themselves to understand how to be healthy. And given the state of the mod team at times, you know what? I might need to employ someone to help the mods. And Birley, thank you very much for the gifted sub over to Clissy there. I'm sorry, I'm too English. I can't pronounce double L. I do my best. You messed up your number? Oh, Mirrorley! Oh, I know how much you appreciated the cool number of 1, 2, 3, 4. It has come to its end now. Thank you for bringing yourself up to 1,235 subs. Cheers. Lists works? Okay, list it is. There we are. I will ignore half of the letters of your username, as I do with many, and list it is. My poor monolinguistic brain can handle lists. Unless it turns out it's lice, in which case I'm just screwed. Tell me it's lice and not lice. Good, it is lice. At least I can understand that much. And then Mrs. Ocean is just having a stroke. Alright. So, I don't even remember what arcanes I had on this at this point. Welcoming all of you who've come in with the raid. I am usually a little bit less scatterbrained than this, but there we go. That's what happens when we're testing things, and an aneurysm occurs in the mod side of stuff. Maybe 2 aneurysms. I think a gear also nearly passed away on the keyboard just now, so, you know, we're doing great. Doing great. I have only the best examples of my community as moderators. Only the best. Yeah, we've got Deadhead Crux looking at a combination of the triple elemental mod non-6060. See how this works out. Because like, if we can crunch the numbers all damn day, but it really comes down to, does it kill? And how quickly does it kill? Because, I mean, if it doesn't kill quickly, why would I even equip it? Is the honest question. Let's be real now. If it doesn't kill quickly, why even use it? So, we need this to actually get a little bit of somewhere. What modding have I got on the moment? Oh, yeah, it was the blast fucking electric because Zom was having a half moment about DOTs. Wrong modding. Yeah, no. So this, no, just no. Tox. And then we run into an issue of polarities. However, that is an Omniformer. Oh, thank you, Miralabe. For those of you who don't know, Miralabe gifted me a shit ton of Omniformer, and that makes this a lot easier, doesn't it? Okay, there we go. Heat, viral, standard fare, lovely jubbly. Murder all these guys because they didn't murder correctly. Summon some new guys to murderize. Bring out the big gun once again. And one wonders what DOTs we may need, I suppose. Yeah. Took them all out, 91 bullets. Pretty good. Let's step it up then. Exo Gokstad officers. Hurrah. They feel like the same enemy, I'll be quite honest with you. I can't put my finger on why, but they feel the same. Maybe a few extra shots are required. I am down to 220. I have already gone through 80 shots, so they're not quite the same enemy. I am struggling to see the enemy behind the one I've just killed because of the brightness of this gun. And then also, bonk. Gotta appreciate a good bonk there. Yeah, there is the capped armor, but they still have a chunk of health. The health is definitely still different there. If I recall correctly... actually, why do I recall correctly? The wiki announced that someone had overhauled the entire enemy health scaling information box. So let's go have a look at that real quickly. I'm not going to bring it up onto the main screens for you guys to see, because I'm just having a look at the details. So a level 200... Steel Path, Elite Lancer, let's see here, their health is 182k, and then if we go for a Gokstad Officer, Exo Variety, level 200 Steel Path, which is what we spawn them on even though it's not possible to see, the health is 1.2 million. Now, in case you're not paying attention, that is quite a difference. 182k to 1.2 million is quite a difference. So yeah, can I see what Manic Bombards have in EHP? I can't because I didn't open that page, but you can. But yeah, let's have a quick look. Manic Bombards. Let's see, Manic Bombard, not the direct variety because you didn't ask for that. Level 200, Steel Path, 1.8 million hit points. Okay, that's more. That's more than I'll get Gokstad Officer. So, Manic Bombard. Oh, Drekar. Okay, does Drekar have a different? Drekar at that is even more. It's 2.1 million. Well, give me all of those bastards then, absolutely. Tavaganda's there. I've lost all of the charges on this. So, sorry, all of these stacks. So this is going to be a slower one. Simply because I'm going to need to get a couple kills before it starts working. There we go. Alright, we're at full stack now. Getting those headshot benefits in. But yeah, we are seeing gun do gun things. Donk. Damn, they bounce back fast. Yep, still one mag. Still one mag. Alright. Anything else to get scans of? Good thing I have those Drekars right there then. Good a thing. Yeah, the wiki has definitely been updated on that side. So they've got lovely little tick boxes for the Steel Path stuff. They've got tick boxes for Xmas units. So if they were somehow turned into an Xmas, you'd see the scaling of that as well, without having to fiddle with different pages. Empowered enemies and player count where relevant. They've got that accounted for as well now. And the Steel Path modifier doesn't just update the EHP, it also updates the health as well. So, a bunch of very useful changes on the wiki right there, saving a lot of fiddling and middling around the details just to get the information you want, and that is very, very welcome. That is indeed very, very welcome. So yeah, in terms of kills there then, we have the alternative option of going for... instead of Crux, we could go for... Sorry, not instead of Crux. Instead of the triple element, we can go triple 60-60. Let's look at this from a numbers perspective. At worst there, I think I went through like 250 bullets. And 250 bullets, assuming primary Crux is at full stack, which it wouldn't be from the start, but assuming it's a full stack, 250 bullets with this 60% ammo efficiency is 625 shots, which is a fire rate of 13.33, means that was a kill time of 47 seconds. 47 seconds of continuous fire, including getting some stacks going on the first few enemies. So, in the ballpark of 47 seconds there. Which means we're looking at about 2 seconds per enemy. On some of the hardiest enemies we can spawn for level, we're looking at about 2 seconds per enemy. Wait, where did I see their health? On the wiki. Stardust Opal. On the wiki. So yeah, about 2 seconds per enemy, which, you know, does a damn good job of kind of turning them into dead. And a lot of that is benefited from the fact that the direct damage is a lot more than the radial, so we do get full headshot benefits there as well, which is very nice. Absolutely. So, all told then, how much weaker does this become, and how much stronger does this become, if we switched even just these two to viral 60-60s? Because at the moment here, we have a heat component, which is 9.1 out of 26. So a 35% heat component. So with this fully stacked, we're getting that 104% status chance. It would be a 36.4% chance, technically, 36.4% heat procs to shots hit on that basis. And we don't really care as much about the heat blocks from here because they will just be a chunk weaker. So, swapping these over then. Just grab the mods for it, make it nice and simple. You and you. Our heat component is now 27.2 out of 57.2. Which is 47.55% going to that. And this will reach now 126, 26. 135.2% status chance. It's 135.2 times 0.4755. 64% heat. If I'm looking at that correctly. I think I am, yeah. So 36.4 to 64.3. That's a hell of an increase in the heat output. That is not quite, but closing in on double. Close enough to double to say double, and no one should contest it. Cheers, Petra. So in terms of us getting double the effective heat output, granted, at the cost of viral output here, our viral is now 20.2 out of that, but you'll hit the viral cap relatively quickly, one would assume. Viral is the running numbers on calculator again. 35% viral. So it's 0.353 times 0.353. About 47.7 viral per shot on average. So that comes out to... yeah, still less than a second to get max viral. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm aware that viral's most effective per proc at the first. Come on. It's on. Kindly. I'm aware. Running much more numbers than just basic proc information, we end up with... we'll hit 13 procs per second of viral, which means we're going to get full viral stacks in less than a second on the targets. We're going to get plenty there. By the time heat ticks through to its next hit, this would still end up with max viral, if an enemy is still alive at that point. So you don't need more viral there, that's fine. So really that just serves to buff up the heat at the expense of some direct damage. So the question then is that really complicated interplay of how much direct damage do we lose to how much heat do we gain? That's going to get a little bit more complicated. To the point that maybe we're going to want to have a notepad. And by maybe I mean definitely going to want a notepad. So let me get a notepad up for this. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like Windows 11 has a smaller margin of acceptance of grabbing the corner of a window compared to Windows 10. Certainly if you grab it from the top right. I feel like Windows 10 was more forgiving when you tried to click and drag the corner of a window. That could just be me. Anyway. Main screen online, there we go. Oh, of course, camera's there, whatever, we'll move it this side. There we go, that'll be fine. Okay. So, math regarding... let's zoom this in a bit. There we are. Math regarding triple 120 element versus 120 plus 2x60 for direct and dot output. Alright. So... yeah, just trying to think of where we want the numbers to go. So with the 3x120, direct damage, and we only need to consider multiplier of the details we're working with. We need to consider, let's see here, we don't even need to consider the direct damage multiplier because that's going to be separate in wherever we use it, pure damage multipliers. We're just considering element, aren't we? Is it just element? Yeah, just element. Portion, which is equal to 100% plus 3 times 120%, which is simply 460%. Alright? But then the heat dot, so that will be coming from, need the status first, status chance, 26% multiplied by 1 plus 300%, so that is just simply 104%. So the heat dot, heat in such a setup would be 120 over 460 times 104%. So we've got the frequency of heat multiplied by the frequency of status effects, and we're just taking averages. We don't care that it's 100% of one status and 4% of another. It averages out. multiplied by the simple multiplier of heat, multiplied by the heat bonus that we've got, which is 2.2, because we've got 120% heat mod, gives us our heat DOT. However, before I put this number in, there are some terms here that don't change. Specifically, in the square brackets here, this lot doesn't change, going from one build to another. Heat still has that 0.5 multiplier, just as part of its DOT, slash, for example, 0.35. And likewise, we're always going to have the combustion rounds mod in there for that 2.2 multiplier. So this bit doesn't change, so we don't need to factor those in. So we can just go those first two bits, multiply through. So 120 divided by 460. It should be 120% divided by 460%. Let's just put them decimals in there, it's easier. Multiplied by 1.04. That is a... sorry, 0.2713 times the square bracketed stuff that we don't care about. On the 120 plus 2x60 approach, this changes over to, well, just, we don't need 1 times. So we'll lose 120% there, so this goes down to 340. Status chance is now that. Oh, forgot the times, technically. There we go. So our heat DOT times the square bracketed stuff, which is 1.2 divided by 3.4 times again the square bracketed stuff. To save me just having to write out that stuff again. So we see 0.4 to 0.2, but the direct damage 340% down from 460%. And just making sure I'm at the right point in my multipliers here. We do need to multiply in these square bracket bits, after all, to be able to fairly compare. So let's fairly compare. So that all multiplies in 2.2 to 0.5 is just 1.1. So 0.2713 times 1.1, 29843. I'm just going to stop at 4 sig fig. And likewise over here, 0.447 times 1.1, 4917. So that's saying that on the 6060 usage build, our heat DOT should, if I'm reading all this correctly, should be applying about 49.17% of our direct damage DPS as a heat proc over time. Whereas on the full 120 build, we're only getting 29.84% of this. So, heat DOTs, comes to the question as to how they stack up and apply. That's something I don't actually know. If you get 10 heat procs a second, 1 every 0.1 seconds, it should just add them all up and then hit the total damage of what would be, yeah, 10 procs after 1 second of the first one being there, right? So if you got a 50 damage proc, 10 times, you get 500 heat damage on the first tick that happens. Because you just stacked up 500's worth in the first second. Cheers, Athene Queenie. Zom, will cover electric later, please. Let's stick with the heat for now, alright? You can see there's a lot of numbers on screen, let's not... Yeah. I think the way it works with heat is you just build up the proc and then it starts and just goes. I think that's how that works, because heat all merges into a singular proc. I think that's how it goes. So on that basis then we can say we have 1 second of firing. This would do 460 times 1 plus 1 times the 0.2984. So what this represents is the amount of direct damage we're dealing, just the elemental modifier side of it. All the rest of it is identical between builds. Multiplied by 1 for the 1 second of firing, and then 1 lot of the heat DOT. After 2 seconds of firing, this would instead look like 2 seconds of that and 3 of this. Because you've got 1 round of procs applying their damage for 2 seconds, and 1 round of procs applying it for 1 second. So you get 3 seconds worth of DOT damage in comparison to 2 seconds worth of direct damage. So that's why it scales up like that. And then we'll just do that again here for 3 seconds. If something's not dead in 3 seconds, I have to wonder if a heavy weapon is the correct thing to be using. So let's see what these numbers give us here. That is 460 times 1 plus 1 times 0.2984. So that is 597.3. Again, I'm just rounding to 4 sig fig. If you need it any deeper than that, you're doing it wrong. And that. That just gives us simple multipliers. So the question is then, how does that fare over here? Because instead it's now 340 base, but it has a much higher heat proc complement to it. We don't really need to think too much about the virals, because in both cases virals should switch on pretty much fully by the time the dots even start happening. That's 2, that's 3, 3 and 6. Okie dokie. 1 plus 1 times 0.4917. Yeah, fuck it, I'm truncating it. 0 decimal places. Whatever. The reality of it will still be communicated. Now that is interesting. That is interesting. For those of you who need a little bit of help on what the hell is interesting about this, let's just expand that all up. So, running the multiplier of what is actually different between a 60-60 viral switch and a full heat approach, after 3 seconds of firing, the heat DOT is certainly going to be scaling better on the viral 60-60 because there's just more heat, as well as a higher status. There's more heat than there is viral, so you should be getting more heat procs. It's stacking amazingly, what the hell, with primary crux. So the heat component, it jumps from about 30% to about 50%. It's huge. But the direct damage you're actually delivering just comes down. No, wait, that's wrong. Wait. Hold up. No, that is right. Yeah. Yeah, that is right, yeah. Yeah, because we have the square brackets bit, this bit, which is the actual heat component. Yeah. Whew, for a moment I thought I missed a bit, but no, it is in there. It was in the square brackets that just doesn't change. Okay, so I'll add those back in just so it's very clear what I've written. Yeah, after 3 seconds of firing, you still end up with about 10% less damage. A little bit less than 10%. It's like 8% in that ballpark. Less damage with the DOT build, which is supposed to actively be better over time. I didn't update it to say 2 and 3, whatever. By 4 seconds, I presume this is going to overtake. Surely it has to. Surely. Now, do we see a world in which this doesn't overtake? I'm just going to write it all up and then find out. Four seconds of firing, with this at 4 and this at 10. Is going to equal. Let's find out. I just usefully slap that into there. 3, 2, 1, 3. Versus this into here. 3032. Right? Yeah, guess it is. Again, yeah, it's not even caught up. The percent difference between it is now smaller, but it's not caught up. Let's do a how much less here. So 507 divided by 597.3 minus 15%. 1182, 1332. Oops. That's a minus 11%. Again, I'm just rounding these because we don't need the fractional percentages at this point. Time to try 10 seconds of firing. What are you shooting at for 10 seconds that isn't damage attenuated? At which point, all bets are off because damage attenuation go burr. Now the difference, it's percentage. It's not like it's an order of magnitude. Whichever build you go for, the target reasonably should be dead. If in 1 second of firing they're dead with the 3x120 build, that is because you hit a multiplier, for purposes of comparison here, 597. You've hit 597. With the 1 second of firing with the 120 plus 260s, you're at only 507 after 1 second of firing, but you can see with 2 seconds you'd be at 1182, so you'll hit the 597 in a fraction of a second later. A fraction of a second later. So if the TTK is 1 second versus not quite 1 second, you're fine. Now there is the matter of the heat proc won't be ticking again in that time. So to get more out of this, in fact, yeah, we just split the difference. How much of 340 do you need to hit 597? It'll be 27% of a second, so 1.27 seconds, assuming rounded easiness. Your target will be dead if they'd have been dead in 1 second to the original setup. And that is a threshold thing where that enemy dies exactly with that amount of damage, that multiplier. Lincoln saying, isn't the lower number here more damage on a lot of targets because of vulnerabilities? On targets which have weakness to heat, granted, yes. So that'll be your infested And it'll be a big issue on Kuvagrier, I guess, because you're relying more on your heat there. Meanwhile, the viral, which will be on the bigger number already, is a bonus against Orokin, but a negative against Infested Eamos and the Murmur. There's not a lot of things which are vulnerable to heat. As you can see, it's actually just one singular faction, which already mostly kind of flops over when you point a gun at them. And then you pull the trigger. As for heat status, reducing armor, both of these will have a heat status applied, so they'll both have the full effect of that armor reduction at that point. Any more is irrelevant in that side. So yeah, break it all down as far as I can here. If you're using primary crux, even for the case of trying to get greater heat weighting, you need to be shooting at a target for certainly more than 4 seconds of firing in order for it to matter. Unless, and only unless, you have some kind of faction bonus or heat inherent bonus, at which point the choice should have been obvious from the outset. Of course you want the more heat status. You're applying a goddamn faction bonus. They practically hack. So yeah. I can't see that shaking out any other way. And as I'm saying, come to think of it, how does that work with electric? Does the first proc appliance need to do all of them do? How do we not know this? So when it comes to that, I can now look at this and go, as much as that's an interesting thing to consider, I think they each apply separately. So they do their proc immediately for each hit that triggers electric, no waiting. As much as I think that's how it works, even if it isn't, we can see from this that the direct damage still wins. Either which way around, the direct damage would still win. In terms of the non-faction overall approach. As much as you got the double application of headshot multipliers, you'll be missing out on just the direct damage also hitting the headshots to just kill the enemy quicker. Yeah. And again, what the hell are you shooting for 4 seconds and isn't already dead? For me, honestly, that settles it. If you're running Crux. So let's flip this back to where it needs to be on that basis then. We're using the viral. Bada bing, bada boom. Why is Venomous Clipper D polarity? DE plus. Okay. All told, I think that about lines it up then. Truth be told, Primary Crux is just amazing. That is a huge amount of status chance there, which is really hard to throw aside, especially on a weapon with a base 26% status chance. Yeah, fair enough, Sam. Fair enough. The procs would be a little bit stronger there. They would have that extra % of a %. But again, I don't think you're going to notice a difference breaking down at that point. Not in a way that matters. Especially considering you'd still be spending more time killing stuff if, for the times you're not perfectly landing all headshots as well. Oh yeah, that's actually a point I didn't make clear here on this. Just to be very clear on these percentage breakdowns, I almost made the point but didn't quite. All of these 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds of firing are assuming you're hitting the entire time. For the full damage, you're not accidentally hitting a weaker body part. You're not hitting headshots to also modify things, because you should be doing the same on both. Most crucially, it's giving enough time for the procs to do their full thing. If I compare these at an infinitesimal moment before 2 seconds, whereupon basically the entire direct damage is applied, we just haven't ticked over the heat yet to the next second, it would actually be, on the top one, 460 times 2 plus 1 times 0.2984. That'd be 1057 versus over here 847. Which, for those of you paying attention, is a lot lower. That's simply because of the tick system of heat procs, and procs in general, but heat in particular, because the way they stack together, that you would get that delayed result. For any other proc system which doesn't front load the procs all stacking onto the one heat, the 1 second of firing would actually then become 1 plus 0.5 of the proc multiplier, because only half of the procs would have actually, if they're instant procs with electric, no. Actually, no, that's incorrect, isn't it? Yeah, no, at 1 second, you'd have just the very first proc applying. So you'd need to measure to 1.5 seconds, I guess, to get half of them applied. And then it's 1.5. And then 2.5 on top. Yeah, that's a little bit. Suffice to say, it doesn't get better for status procs. Let's go with that. Unless anyone wants to contest the numbers there, it doesn't look like it gets better for status procs. So, we're good. So in terms of this, Deadhead versus Flare. If you can't aim, or won't aim, Flare is just better, because you're not hitting your headshot kills. If you can aim, or have serious gaps between moments of combat, say if you expect to move somewhere, then Deadhead is better. If you expect to come up against weak enemies, or at the very least have a selection of weak ones alongside the strong ones, Deadhead can be better because you can get kill stack potentially faster than Flare can find its heat procs. But then Flare can find its heat procs from a companion, can't it? If I, yep, that's what I thought. It's going to set to electric. Let's make that heat. There we go. First question, does the weapon need to be equipped to get the benefit? That sure doesn't look like it, does it? Yeah, no. Didn't even need to have it equipped, and Companion was stacking it, so that's good. Just verifying that there wasn't a flare on observe. Of course there wasn't. Nope. Oh, yep, yes there was. Huh, okay. I didn't think I had a flare on observe. Never mind, retest. I saw the results. My bad. Idiot me for not checking. I didn't want to have that equipped yet. Fucking. Let's just refresh the whole goddamn thing in case something broke there. That's dumb of me. A gift from Mirrorlabe. It's 10 Gravimags. Mirrorlabe, thank you very much for the 10 Gravimags. I guess I can have those other arc guns after all. Thank you, Mirrorlabe. Okay, so, wanted to check. First of all, no flare equipped on secondary. Hop in here. Flare definitely stacks up, even though I've not even equipped my arc gun yet. There we go, that's good. Yeah, so, as expected, or as hoped, other sources... wrong thing, fuck off. Other sources of heat can indeed stack up flare as well, before you even deploy the heavy gun, which, let's face it, is very useful, considering the heavy gun for most frames is a very temporary thing. You want it to deploy and hit. So, honestly, it's a bit of a wash, all told. If you build for flare, flare is better. If you don't build for flare, or can aim, or know you're going to have serious gaps in your ability to build flare, then it's deadhead. Apples to oranges. Very similar things, but people like to use them as a distinct, very incomparable comparison. But they're actually very comparable. As for the rest of the stuff, secondary dexterity, if you're meleeing and then going to a heavy gun, feels like an obvious answer. If you're coming up against just a boss unit, you're not going to be charging up these kills, so flare is just going to win there. Accuracy for crit chance on weak spots for 4 seconds after rolling just sounds like absolute trash. Empowered, trash here. Cascadia Overcharge. It just can't make up for all of that pure damage. Same with Secondary Innovate. We need to remove Crux, which you could, but you're missing out. Secondary Outburst. Honestly, I don't think that could be too worth it. You need a very specific setup. We've not really got the crit damage. Pure damage to make it worthwhile. Merciless falls into the same things as these. Kinship, just no. Fortifier, haha, funny overguard if you want to. It's a separate consideration entirely at that point. Secondary Shiver, no. Secondary Surge, no. Although, Alt Fire? Nah, not worth it. Not worth it. As I'm saying, especially since many people want to avoid heat on companions due to manifold. There is that as well, so if you're not getting companion heat, you'll need to heat from somewhere else, but that could still be your main weapons in the first place, or your abilities. There are ways to get the heat. But yeah, if you can't, then that. Lincoln says some guns do run Innovate without dropping Crux. Yeah, we're looking at the Warzone right now, which is a hit scan. Like 99.9% certain it's a hit scan. But let's get that to 100. Yeah, that's hit scan. So, even if it wasn't exactly hit scan, that's hitting so damn fast, it's not going to get any weird benefits out of Innovate. And so it's just going to be cycling that crit chance at about the typical level there. Now, sure, yeah, you could take off your parallax scope at that point. And then get all your crit from that. But if you're getting all your crit from that, you'd have to bring in the weaker Repeater Line Parallel. And I don't... Okay. I'm going to humor the thought. If you did do that, and switch this over, let's say you get the crit chance to an average of 100%. That is to account for sometimes you're going to go over, but for a lot of the time you're also going to be under the 100%. I would figure with a weapon like this, you'd be in the ballpark of 100% average. So let's say 100%. If you wish to contest that, contest it. I know you can get other crit mods as well, and obviously there's mods as well, but we're not going to focus on those too much. So, if you go this route, you've got 2.87 on the damage there. Assume we're keeping Crux for a moment. 2.87 on the damage, multiplied by guaranteed 4 times crit. Let's be charitable and say you're headshotting, so it's a guaranteed 8 times crit. So that'll be a multiplier of 22.96. Let's call that 23, make it easy in my head. So 23 if you're using an Innovate based on assumed damage output, whereas if you go this way with the 60% crit mod, I'll put it back on in a second. You know what it's supposed to be. That would give us a 5.8 multiplied by 1 plus 0.6 times. Still headshotting. That 30. So yeah, 23 to 30. So even charitably going for the headshots to get maximum benefit for the crit arcane still works out in favour of Flare, as far as I'm concerned. The extra crit ain't worth losing the pure damage or trying to find it elsewhere. And if you're not following along with the math, well, just trust the guy who is, because I mean, that's what you've been doing for the last 5 years, isn't it? Yeah, Innovate really only benefits when the weapon either has absurdly low crit chance, you can't really mod in crit chance, but it still has a whole chunk of crit damage. You go, yeah, and rock it to the sun, or if it has such a projectile travel time that you can basically cheat the arcane. Where the arcane goes, ah, right, yep, it's time to reset. You've just hit your 6th orange crit, so let's reset now. Meanwhile, you've got bullets in travel which are on like 300-400% crit chance. Yeah. Can you afflict Prophet Taker with statuses? Mizu saying no, you can't. So there's that. Compressor Innovate? Oh yeah. That one is a key example of Innovate just getting absolutely overcharged with a weapon that decides to just conveniently ignore that it should be resetting. It's like, oh no, I haven't hit any oranges. Meanwhile, red crits in travel. Like, no, there's no oranges. No, it's fine. Kind of bonkers. Actually, it's not even just that. It needs to get the massive number of hits in to build it up whilst it's still on a low amount, yeah. Yeah, so it's the fact you fire so many small ones, and then they all start hitting for small values. You start firing lots of big ones well past what should be the limit. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's balancing it. So, if this is the kind of direction we can get from Mortalon, the question I then have is, what's the output on this compared to the Arbacep? Taking, again, pretty flat damage numbers. We're just going to roll with things as if the world is nice and simple. Also, quick reload can definitely come out of this setup when we're using it off of our, what's it? Void Rig. So, quick reload, that can be dropped for... what do we drop it for? Crit chance and damage whilst aiming? I wish I could drop it for that. There we go. I mean, that can't go too wrong. Doesn't interfere with what either of these arcanes are doing, so it's just better. Yeah. So I'm saying even then, reload speed only affects recharge delay, not speed rate. Zom, you got your wires crossed. That's Arcwing, which basically no one gives a shit about. Heavy weapons, you reload. You've seen this. You go bang and then reload. You thought it was for all batteries? Well, I mean, pay attention. 1, 2, reloaded. The batteries on Necromex? Yeah, and that's exactly why I used it, to reduce the recharge delay so that I was getting bullets back sooner. Come on, Zom. Nope. Then we get this back. Fire some shots. 1, reloaded. So yeah, it does affect the reload speed there. Whatever you might think about reload speed, it does work exactly as it works everywhere else in Warframe in this case. There is no trick, there is no exception, it just does what it does there. It reduces the recharge delay when used on Necromex, and it reduces the reload time when used off of Necromex and Arcwings, when it's just in your hands. The reload delay on Necromex, did they even set it up to see that? And, ooh, interesting. Oh yeah, I've got it on config B. That's why. That's fine. Yeah, so it's not even showing the correct number there. I thought it was like... I want to say 4 seconds normally. Oh wait, no. No, it is showing the correct number because I've got the mod on there. What am I on about? Yeah, that's why it looks like it's not got the correct number. I've got the mod on this setup. So yeah, 4 seconds normal. So... for me, that's kind of huge. Taking 2 seconds off the delay means that you can stop firing for just 2 seconds and start to get a lot of bullets back, as opposed to normally where you could just reload whenever you damn well please. So that is the difference there. And yeah, for the sake of 1 second, I don't think the reload mod is worth it on the heavy weapon. Now it's worth having that separate modding for it. And to my own aid, heavy Necra. There we are. Now I can keep track of it. Yeah, Necromex are definitely held back much more by the delay than speeds on. Absolutely. This does matter a lot, just in general, when using Necromex, because if you're using Necromex, you're rarely using them a little bit, let's be honest. You want to really utilize them. And so, a couple seconds delay as you maneuver around to get the next group of targets, yeah, you can manage that. Record any portion of your gameplay, if you got something that can record it, excuse me. There we are. Record any section of your gameplay if you can, and see how often you will spend 2 seconds, just 2 seconds, not doing something. Or not shooting the gun. Just 2 seconds. You'll find it's quite a bit. 1, 2, it's just that amount of time, that's it. And the time it took me to reload this. 1, 2, reposition, continue firing. 1, 2, there we are, jump over here, 1, 2, and oh, I've landed. A heavy landing can actually be enough for it, if you're bad at the game like me. Now, how often do you go 4 seconds without firing? But you're still in a situation where you're likely to want to be firing, so 4 seconds without it being like 10 or 20. That is a lot more rare. Go 4 seconds without wanting to fire a single shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then continue. And that difference makes all the difference in the Necromech. All of the difference. It's the difference between passively regenerating a few shots from moment to moment, to the point you almost never run out, versus 0 passive regeneration, you fully run out and have to wait for it to come back. So yeah. You wish to increase recharge speed if affected charge speeds? Yeah. That's a separate concern entirely. That's quick email or tweet to D like, please, please, more buffs, please. I'll leave that in DE's hands. They can take that conversation. Okay. But yeah, I wanted to look at the numbers here. So we go with this setup, or at least I am, so deal with. So we're going with this setup here. Let's have a look as the total single target output for the moment, and compare that to the ARPACEP, and see where we can go with that. So, to make this easy enough to follow, let's bring back the notepad once again here. All of this lot can go away. Actually, you know what? Because it's now Windows 11. Tab. Much better. Okay, so I'm going to need to bury this a little bit behind my face here. We have got a base value of 1738.8 plus 331.2. This then gets multiplied by the bonuses we get from Cascadia Flare, which is on its own, it's the only pure damage bonus we have. Status chance is not what we're comparing at the moment. This is Morzalon damage first. Actually, just Morzalon damage. There we are. So this has got multi-shot elements all baked into it. We need the crits and fire rate. Let's get those. So fire rate 13.33, and crits. Now crits is more than it looks like here. We got critical focus giving us a buff. I think it was 60% to both. Yep. And what's giving us our crit damage? There it is, 80%. So what's the base? 2.2. Okay. 1 plus 30% multiplied by 1 plus the 100% from parallax scope and the 60 from critical focus, all multiplied by 2.2 times. Oh, sorry, yeah, 2.2 times 1 plus 0.8 from hollow bullets plus 0.6 from critical focus minus 1. So this is base damage, sorry, base stats with multi-shot and element, pure damage, fire rate, average critical output, all combined there. I'm just making sure the parentheses add up. Nope, I think I missed one. There we go. That's all the core stats. So this comes out to, just shove it into the calculator, 694,317. In case you're not following along, that's a chunk. It's not a million DPS, but we've got viral procs and heat procs in there as well, so, you know, we'll cross that line. And then status, we have fire rate. Status chance is 26% base, multiplied by just the 300% from Crux, which equals, very simply, 13.33 times 0.26 times 4. Yep, 13.86 procs per second. And actually, that's doubled because we got 2 hits. Procs per second per hit. Direct plus AoE. Worth noting. Okay, so that gives us the Morsey stats. That gives us the Morsey. We had a look at the Arbicep the other day, so I'm just going to take the Arbicep as is decorated and compare what we've got there. Now with the secondary innovate, we can get higher results out of this because it's got a decent fire rate and a relatively slow travel time in comparison. So with this, we're going to assume a crit chance of 140%. Considering it drops all the way down to 10. So yeah, we'll assume 140% is our crit chance as a result of this. I know that's not really the cleanest way of handling it. The cleanest way would be to measure it. That would give us a more precise result, but this is a nice and simple approach. We've got crit damage here, we've got multi-shot here, multi-shot there, damage here, damage there, crit damage, status whilst aiming. This is a very different setup to take advantage of the nature of Arbicep. So let's have a Gandarinos with that. This is going to be a little bit more, dare I say, complicated to bring together. Damage, damage. Because it's got all of these hits here. They are functionally identical for the numbers. So you just take these numbers and then just... Actually, wait, can we add it all together? Does radio attack have all the information and damage projectile have in? Hold on. 347.2 plus 192.9 times 6. Rounding error matches. Okay, cool. That makes my life easier. I don't have to go digging into all of these or just multiplying in across things. I can just take the numbers right from in front of me. That is much, much, much easier. Okay, so we've got the base values as shown, 3240.1 plus 23085.8. I missed a 5. That's currently using primary beta line barrel in there. So the benefits are, that's a 1.87? Yes. And deadly efficiency is 220%, which we will be applying fully basically the entire time. but then we divide out the pre-existing bonus, which is the 2.87. Sorry, that should be there. So that's our pure damage consideration. There's no pure damage over here to worry about. Element's already baked in. Multi-shot is not fully baked in, because we're getting some from Frostbite. All these conditionals. If only we had a click. If only we had a click. High value, you're the latest person to suggest I should try out the anime alternative to Warframe. However, I was seriously put off the game, not just by the visuals, but also their website being a pretty poor experience for a live streamer. So I appreciate the suggestion, but I'm going to take a pass on that one, thanks. If they want to reach out to me and change my mind, they're welcome to do so. But, yeah. First impressions, followed by UX, was not it. Alright, I've forgotten what that number was now. 225 by 40, so that is a 90% multi-shot bonus. And this one's 110. Okay. So that would be times 3 divided by 2.1. There we go. That's a multi-shot. Fire rate does not change anywhere in here. I'm ignoring reloads for the moment. So yeah. Just out of curiosity value, if you're still here, what does Juliet Night Abyss do better than Warframe? Not the same. I've seen a lot of the same stuff, which quite frankly is not a selling point to me. What does it do differently? What does it do better? And don't tell me upskirt shots. That doesn't do anything for me. Better open world exploration like Genshin Impact. I don't know what Genshin Impact gameplay is like at all. Main storytelling. Those are the main two. Main storytelling. I mean, I suppose storytelling has been a little bit of a weakness in Warframe side, yeah. Open world exploration like Genshin Impact. So you're saying it's like it's better. I don't want to come across quizzically. I just want to understand. How is it better? Like, is it, hey, I am having a nice and enriched experience walking from mission to mission? Because that doesn't line up with what I saw someone doing on a stream. It looked like they were very much repeating the exact same moment with effectively a mission reloading loop. Desca, a significant number of people do play multiple popular games at the same time, yeah. The world feels more believable. And there are small jumping puzzles, stuff like that. Okay. I appreciate the attempt. That doesn't sell it to me. Yeah, that's actually, if nothing, reinforcing my feeling. That is reinforcing my desire to not check it out any further. Because on the one point there, the whole makes it more believable, I'll be quite honest, I do not play a game like Warframe to make it believable. It's, if I wanted believability, we wouldn't be having bullet jumping and calling down arc guns out of the sky, even when we're inside of a Grineer ship. Magical space ninjas, believable it is not. And then as for the small jumping puzzles, oh boy howdy, I have seen that enough times. Enough times in games, and it just doesn't really connect for me. As much as I have enjoyed spy missions in Warframe, when someone says jumping puzzles, I think of things like the co-action drift puzzle here in Warframe, or I think of the puzzles that were implemented in something like Power World recently, or semi-recently. Only recently noticed them when I reopened the game. And just various other jumping puzzles over time. I just... choose a genre is usually my response on that kind of thing. Blood Fuzzle say, hi, I love you guys. Thank you for making them. You're very welcome, and thank you for popping by to say that. Hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here. But I always wish Warframe would do more of its great movements. I think it's a neat addition, but I can understand why people don't like it. Yep, fair enough. Yeah, we're out on that. Okay, so base considerations, all elements focused in, pure damage focused in, multi-shot focused in, fire rate, yep. So just gonna blindly put it in and ignore reload time for the moment. This is a pure output consideration and not a reload consideration. Although Morzelon 100% wins in that arena. So now we have the crits bit.
What are y'all doing today? Currently waiting in anticipation to crack the RAG Keep Star in half here.
Ah! Quintus, what is the timer on that? Also, thank you very much for the 52-month resub at tier 3 there. Much appreciated, Quintus. That is someone I definitely should have made a golden teapot for, isn't it? Thank you very much on that indeed. So yeah, how long have you got left on the RAG Keep Star? Are we talking 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours? If it's a Keep Star, there could be quite some setup on those ops, I'm never quite certain. 4 hours. For those of you who need a translation, Quintus Maxius just declared that they are, at the moment, waiting 4 hours away for the ability to join a redonkulous number of other nerds in shooting a static structure in space. One assumes that structure is going to be defended by the owners of it. Oh, yeah. Fleet Hunt up? Yeah, well, I imagine they're not 4 hours in advance. Yeah, I was hoping not, but still. Quintus is a 4... No defense. You're certain there's going to be no defense on this, Quintus? Jesus Christ. This is why I quit EVE Online. This genuinely is one of the reasons why I quit EVE Online. And I say that as Quintus says it's the highlight of their week. Yeah. Oh dear. Quintus has an alarm clock set for 4 hours from now for a bunch of nerds gathering together to pour a whole bunch of damage into a station. Because the station has damage attenuation, fun fact, in order to give the defenders enough time to respond and protect it. Damage attenuation and a whole timer. Like, God knows how many days since it was originally shot. I'm assuming it was days. They did have the ADMs for that, right? But general point being, all of that gathering of shooting and manpower to take down something else which had a whole bunch of manpower behind it, and the defenders have already walked away. Yeah. I'm going to continue doing my math. Alright, that's our fire rate. The last bit is the crit one. The crit term that I really didn't want to dig my teeth into right now, but we have to. I've already said the crit chance, we can just shortcut that to 150%, because secondary elevates general effect with Arbacep. We'll just kind of hold it there. And then over here, we've got crit damage bonus of 120%, on top of the crit damage bonus of 80%. And that is it? Yeah. It's 120 plus 80, so let's take this off, remind ourselves the exact... Fuck off. That's the starting point. 2.9 is our starting point. With 80, 120, that gives us 2.9 times 3. It's nice and simple. Okay. It's a little bit longer, but it is still the equation that we need. And it reads out to... Did I miss something? Reloads, probably. No, yeah, that is correct. Okay, this is an interesting number. We need 2 commas. Okay. That is a chunk more. But let's not forget as well how quickly Arborset burns through its ammo. It says it's got 36 magazine. Because of the way it fires shots, it's actually got a 6 magazine with a fire rate of 2.4. I mean, you can roughly get that in your head already, but the exact answer is it runs out in 2.5 seconds. And then it has a reload of 2 seconds, so our firing uptime is 55.5%. But even if you take 55.5% of that damage value, that is still higher than the Morzalon's if the Morzalon had 100% uptime. So on that basis alone of single target approach of just pure damage, the Arborset is looking pretty fucking swanky. And yes, I know the Warzy and Arborset have very different builds, but it still shakes up quite nicely there. How about the status? This should be a bit quicker to figure out. Arborset, 2.4 fire rate, functionally 6 multi-shot built in. With the multi-shot that we get from all the various bits going on, it's a 3 times multiplier. With the status bonuses, there's no status bonus over here. It's all going to be in these, of which currently I have that set up as just pure cold, so 60s, but you can take it to 120 if you wanted. But for fairness on the damage side, because we're using the Polar Magazine in comparison, we'll just go with the 60%. We got our fire rate, true multi-shot, extra multi-shot, status bonus, and then the original status itself. Some other status from here is marked target, so I do need to account for that as well. But yeah, that shows. Does that say this? Status per projectile is 34.9%. That is a weird percent. Okay. So yeah, 34.9. Okay. Bringing that all together is oh yeah, I've included the multi-shot whereas I didn't up there. That's what's confusing me. Right, yeah. So this is functionally 27.5 roughly to the 42.2 of this. Yeah. The status procs are all over the goddamn shop though, so they're not as good, but yeah. Assuming you hit everything, that's what you get up to. Oh wait, that's just the AoEs. Yeah. Now, Brother Ray saying, when I leveled up the Arborset and the Archwing, I had troubles hitting things as a missile seek function was a bit hit and miss. Is that a skill issue or am I missing something how the weapon works? The rockets are a little bit problematic at distance, yes. They are a little bit problematic at distance. And that will also limit the functionality. Yeah. We're getting one hell of a spread. But it's hard to say that spread didn't do effectiveness. We saw the red crits go out from it. Every second volley is just like, oh, did you want crits? Here, have some crits. But yeah, I mean, that's not the most convincing setup, is it? Are they rockets or missiles? Don't get me into the terminology of that. I'm fairly certain they count as missiles, but... is my official answer on that. Oh yeah, I multiplied in multi-shot bonus on the status there, but that doesn't actually apply, does it? Thanks for reminding, Zom. Yeah. My bad. It applies to the damage, not to status. I thought this looked a little bit high. Right then. Still surprisingly comparable, but again, spreads the fuck out. That 28.1 is if you're hitting everything into the same target, and that's not happening. That's just not happening. So let's do that same kind of situation. Those were Drekar Manic Bombard, so, you know, fair point on the damage there, but still... Oh, no recoil control on this one, my bad. I mean, so far so good, right? It feels like I can actually use the gun to hit them. And hit them I did. Oop, heavy landing, my bad. Yeah, I think I said rockets because someone else said rockets and was just responding rocket to rocket. Video games aren't exactly known for getting rockets versus missiles correct. To bring it up for the second time this stream, EVE Online. They have a series of so-called guided and unguided missiles, and unguided includes rockets, but they're not unguided. They do track the target, so... yeah, what they actually meant was short and long-range missiles. It doesn't make sense. Right. We fiddled around with 2 Archguns so far, and got some pretty good results on those. We're also well past the halfway point on the stream, and I promised a little poll halfway through. So, out of quick curiosity, let's just have a show of hands, as it were, in the chat, or a show of whatever messages are appropriate. Who here actually gives half a damn about tabletop gaming in the first place, let alone something like the Tenno's Tome of Warframes? As my shoulder just cracks, I hope that didn't come through on the microphone. Oh. I may not look 32, but my bones like to remind me of it. Do we have many tabletop fans here? Such as the Tenno's Tome of Warframes, the conversion I did of the Warframes into D&D monsters, or, you know, big ol' Operation Arias in Starfinder, as was recently released. I don't have a direct link to that, but you can certainly find it with a very quick Google away. Apologize answer in chat. It's just an answer in chat at this point, Zom. That's why I say a show of hands or a message in chat. Looks like we got a few people who care. That's good. Excellent. Well, that allows me to then ask the appropriate people the appropriate question. See, now, I can't make any promises yet because, just like previously, I will need to make sure I have appropriate permissions to go ahead with someone else's IP, be it, you know, the Warframe IP. But if I were to dabble into, oh, I don't know, turning Warframes into Starfinder characters, would that be of interest to people here? So instead of it being locked to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition system, compatible with 2014 and 2024, compatible, but also then to open it up to Starfinder 2nd edition, which itself is cross-compatible with Pathfinder 2nd edition, so it would be functionally fitting both, just some tags you might need to account for. But I would design it Starfinder side because, let's face it, sci-fi. It fits. Would that get many people excited? I'm seeing a Mirror's Legend in here. Happy about it. And again, this isn't a poll, but this is just a messages in the chat. As I was saying, I need to get into Pathfinder or Starfinder just a little daunting, Lameo. I mean, it's just another game, really. And a lot of the things you already know will carry over. The things that don't will be just fundamental game mechanics that you learn as you read the book. Because that's what you do, you just read the manual. And much like with D&D, or any other game with many, many classes and spells, you don't read the whole goddamn book, you read the bits which are relevant to you. It's not really that daunting, I assure you. I say there's a little bit of an interest. Okay, there's a little bit of interest. So now my poll. This is a much more important question. I'll be quite honest. Much, much, much more important. But it's also much more involved. I need to phrase this to fit into Twitch's system. Give me a moment. Yes. Okay, I'm going to give a few minutes on this because I'm going to need to explain the two choices as I put this poll up. So don't immediately click because you don't understand the question. With Starfinder Warframes, if I was doing the same like with the old 1009 Warframes, would you want me to scale up spells with tier or add spells with tier? Adding spells is like I've done with the D&D set. So the Initiates have their first ability, Adepts have the second, Masters have the third, and Primes have all 4 abilities. That is add spells with tier. At each tier I add an extra ability. Scaling up the spells would make them vastly more complex monsters. Vastly more complex because they'll have all 4 abilities right from the get-go and need to be able to scale the stats of those abilities with level appropriately. So a low-level monster would have the full suite of Warframe abilities, but they would be massively nerfed to be a low-level monster. Whereas the Prime would have all 4 abilities at full power. Whereas adding the spells with tier, it would be basic monster with 1 Warframe ability added on. Then next tier 2 Warframe abilities, then 3 Warframe abilities, then all 4. Which would you prefer? Happy I was saying, I feel like adding spells makes the ults feel appropriately dangerous whenever they are used. This was part of my original design as well, yes. This was one of my original intents, and the way I did it that way. Mirus Legend said, don't understand the explanation. Mirus, have you even seen the 1009 Warframes? Is an important first question there. Have you seen that document? Have you looked at any significant part of it to have a frame of reference? Tutorial adding an interesting variant. Maybe start with 2 abilities and scale up from the last tier. Okay. That was my conversion of Warframes to villains. Monsters in D&D, yes. Zolsek still has monsters, not as player options. Most people want to say adding spells, but it causes some weird issues, like how I made Titania always semi-fairy, because Titania with no razor ring is very weird. There is that, yeah. But I haven't read it recently. Fair enough. Thank you for tipping into it then, if you bought it. Much appreciated. But to put it simply is that, let's say with the Lavos Initiate has Ophidian Bite. The Lavos Adept has Ophidian Bite and Vile Rush. The Lavos Master has those 2 abilities and Transmutation Probe. And then the final one, the Prime, has all 4 abilities. The question is, keep doing that, which is add spells, or scale up, which means they'd start with all 4, and so all 4 of them would need to scale with level appropriately. It does seem, of those of you who have a horse in this race, prefer the current setup. Interesting. That is interesting. Now, Toriel does raise an interesting, I love the word interesting apparently, an interesting alternative. So with this in mind, I'm going to repoll that. Mirror saying scale provides more options to GMs. Yeah, so this is where I find myself between a rock and a hard place. And you know what? To add on to this, I'm actually going to grab what Lewis put together. I'm going to grab this as a reference. A point of reference of what really raises this question for me. Inside of here, and I'm not going to show you all the full details, because if you want to see the full thing, go ahead and purchase it from Paizo. We have an incoming outbreak right now. Fuck off. Not right now, Twitch. Give me 5 minutes. If I skip past all of my hard work on the introduction and just go straight to characters, I go straight to Amir Beckett. In here, I have Amir, and Amir is listed as a level 3 because this is a low-level one-shot. It's a low-level thing, so the amount of complexity one can expect to deal with, the amount of scaling modifiers and curious threats are all very reduced. Just cool. From Amir Beckett's listing here, we have their energy shield, we have their melee, their range attack, their area fire attack, a second range attack effectively, their bullet jump, their electric shield ability, their shock ability, their speed ability, and they have a vigorous swap ability, which was basically giving them the ability to switch weapons quicker and for more damage. Like how in Warframe we have very quick weapon swapping. And I do have to wonder if that was inspired by what I did. But anyway, it's only a wonder. So this is a level 3 Vault proto-frame with basically every single ability with the exception of Discharge. All but one ability is built in there. If I look at then AoE, and I'm not going to go through all of these, I'm just going to look at AoE as well. We've got melee attack, range attack, another ranged attack, a area fire ranged attack. So just on the attacks, we've already got 4. Then it's got the bullet jump, magnetic recall, which is not an ability, actually. That is effectively the... Hold on. What was that recent thrown weapon that brings it back to you? What one is that? Shit, I can't remember. Was it a Catabolist? Is it not pull? It's not pull. I assure you that. What I'm looking at here is magnetic recall, which is not pull. Was it Canter? What's the thank you, Kelvin? When returning blade strike enemies. Yeah, it is that one. So the Canter. So it's basically the Canter ability, but handed over to Mag for her thrown stuff. So that's cool. But then there's Magnetize, with a whole bunch of stats on that. Polarize, and Pull. So again, it's first, second, and third ability. There is no fourth. And then we got that, no, yeah. So those level 3s in there, they do have all but the fourth ability of each of those proto-frames utilized in their stat blocks, alongside a whole bunch of other things going on, I'll be quite honest. I will say, from the way they're laid out, to me it feels like the Starfinder stat blocks are much more condensed than D&D stat blocks. Much more condensed. To say that Amir has their level, their tags, their types, their perception, their language, their skills, ability scores, items, armor class, saving throws, hit points are up to 11, further hit points, 1, 2, 3 basic attacks, a movement ability, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 features. That's a lot of detail, and it's in one column. Half a page. Half a page. To give you just a very quick glance as to what I mean by half a page, I mean literally. From top to bottom, not a single line spilling over. Very pleasing to look at. Owie does not have such a pleasing layout. Damn you, Owie. This is why my drifter dates Amir. So, with that in mind, I'm going to repoll this. We're going to adjust the poll now. And I'm going to codify it a little bit. What ability setup would you prefer? Can I get all these letters in? Just about. So, top option will be 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the D&D way I've done it. And then I'm going to put in some alternatives. If I can type, I can put all of these alternatives in. So let's take out that one. I've only got so many options I can put in, so I can only format this so many ways. So I'm just going to go like this. There we go. Okay. So coming back to the same thing. Oh, we've hit ads. Okay. Hopefully the poll gets through to those of you on ads. But we got 3 minutes on it anyway. So which would you prefer? The 1, 2, 3, 4, that is Initiate, Adept, Master, Prime, getting 1 ability, 2 abilities, 3 abilities, 4 abilities. 2, 2, 3, 4 is they start off with their 1 and 2, but then only scale up at Master and Prime. Or maybe the Master gets the ult as well, 2, 2, 4, 4. Or maybe they all get 3 at the start and then 4, 4, or just go all 4s, straight up. All 4 abilities. Which feels better to you? I know that's a lot to take in at once, and that's why I've got 3 minutes on the poll, and why I'm trying to explain it as much as I can. If you have questions, literally now is the millisecond to ask them. Mirrors is saying a huge stack of abilities on low-level characters is a huge flavor win. Mechanical issues are easily managed by GM removing options. I disagree. Mechanical issues shouldn't exist in the first place, is a starting point there. And when it comes to removing abilities, if an ability is present but not useful, it is a waste of space. If an ability is useful and you remove it, you've reduced the power level of the character. So the question is then, am I shipping you something that is actually unsuitable for play? Doctor's saying, how would the scaling be if they had more starting abilities instead of them getting more abilities than as they're scaling? So if they had more starting abilities, so it's 4, 4, 4, 4 rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, I would need to then also make the ultimates and all other abilities scaled down for their base variant. So for example, with Volt's Discharge, that big old 4th ability to zap a huge area, stunning people, dealing damage, it would be to either make it harder to cast, spending more actions, so they could do less with it, ramp down the damage considerably because of how damage scaling works in Pathfinder and Starfinder. I would need to consider reduction in range, because range is also a huge part of scaling, as you've no doubt experienced in Warframe. So various aspects of it at the same time would need to come down. A rank 0 instead of rank 3 in Warframe proper. Kind of, yes. The numbers they tweak in Warframe will be different to the numbers I can and would tweak, but kind of that, yes. Kind of. I can't stress kind of enough. And what I'm seeing is overall a lean towards a 2-2-3-4 approach. Okay. So giving all frames their first 2 abilities, but only the Masters and Primes get access to the 3rd and the 4th. Interesting. Very interesting. So with that in mind, that is taking like the premium spot there. There's just one individual on all of the other answers bar one. I have one final poll for you, and this one's going to be a much quicker poll. I assure you. I'm still going to run it for 2 minutes, but it's a much quicker one once I get it up. Let's see. Key. Or alright. Final poll. Final poll on this. Final poll. When it comes to which abilities, and I'm working with Twitch's limited character count here, should I keep it as a 1, 2, 3, 4 style scaling? So low levels get first and second ability only every single time. Or should they be individually thematically adjusted? So, for example, in Titania's case, Titania Initiate would get the 1+4 rather than 1+2. So she has access to the pixie form straight away to be Titania. Whereas another frame might be better with 1+3, another frame might be better with 2+3. I'm seeing a hell of a lot of focus on that one as a final alternative. This would be breaching the simple process, the very communicable, oh, why are some abilities here and others not, of, oh, well, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4. It loses that kind of prettiness, but also opens up flexibility for thematic scaling. At the expense of then also still having to make so-called ultimates, where thematically chosen still feel it, I guess? But yeah. At the very least, any frame where their core identity is hidden on that fourth ability would shine a lot more there. Yeah, I was thinking Meta as well. Titania, I got around it with the D&D stuff by allowing Titania to just fly straight up. But it is kind of a cheat there. For Mesa, there's not really a good alternative to F4, so there is that. I noticed one person said otherwise. If that one person is so brave, could you say why you would dislike it? Just because you're voting against a lot of people here? Well, literally everyone else who's voted. I'm just curious as to your reasoning if you're able to share it. If you don't want to, that's fine. I just would like to know is all. So I can have the broader opinions. This could be Punch Boy plus Rumblers? Yeah. Yeah, that's a valuable thing, absolutely. If we have a look at the further types of them, Wukong could have Wuclone and could go straight into Staff, could stick with just the Cloudwalker. Honestly, I think Wuclone plus Cloudwalker might be a good start. Or to reduce the number of summons, go 2 and 3. To just make it where extra characters only come in later down the line, when a party can better handle duplicates being spawned in. Lavos, I think a 2-3 opener would perhaps be most interesting, but he loses the health regen, which is probably for the best for very low levels. It's hard to balance it all out. Equinox, you want the mode switching, it is Equinox, so that's the one. As for the 2-3-4, honestly, it could just be 1-2 opener on that one. Ivara, I dare say, is a good case for a 3-4. For the invis and the bow. Levels 1-4, a single target plus multi-target. As much as there is that side of it, the nature of the multi-target for Lavosian style kind of demands a bit more oomph to it. But not necessarily. Ductile says 50-50 on the choice, because if you go 2-2-3-4, go with thematic, you'd have to scale down the ult, make it less effective at high level. Why would it be less effective at high levels? Ductile, thinking of how I made the designs, don't forget. think of how I made the designs. You've got spells which scale up their power with higher levels, and that exists throughout normal D&D. It exists through normal Pathfinder as well, and Starfinder for that matter. In terms of listing it, I would probably have to do a baked-in approach, like they did with the abilities here, rather than, here are spells, just go refer to spell sheet. I'd probably have to do a baked-in information approach. Which wouldn't be the worst, given it does appear to be more compact. But it would allow me then to just directly say, this spell does this. You've got a greater version, it's just more powerful, it just does these things instead. Which is one of the things of switching to having the spells out for the D&D one, relatively early in the design process. It allowed me to make the stat blocks look cleaner and more approachable. But at the cost of spells are now referenced externally and need to have a more coherent scaling per level approach. Boy howdy was that fun with a wisp. Literally had to write a table for that one. Brother only saying, where would you put Grendel's 1 in the ordering list? Being able to disable one PC is pretty hefty ability. It is a pretty hefty ability, you're not wrong. And I wouldn't strictly have to utilize the swallowing of an enemy to power the other abilities in a D&D, sorry, not D&D, in a Starfinder re-stepped approach. Like, Nourish, when subsumed, doesn't require a consumed enemy, because everyone else can't just open up their gut and swallow someone. Thank goodness, that would look really weird. But yeah, I would have the freedom to just kind of reimagine entirely different approaches. Revenant could start off with the Mesmer Skin and Dance Macabre, rather than taking direct control of someone from the get-go, which was, in playtesting, a bit of a shaky position. Because, like, how many times does he get to try? If it fails and he's only got one try, is he just a dude with a sword? If he succeeds, how does that affect encounter balance? How crazy does it go? Yeah. Revenant was, I'll admit, one of the harder ones to balance at lower levels as a result of that. Nyx for a similar reason. Now, honestly, on discussing it and seeing the poll results, I think a 2-2-3-4 or 2-2-4-4 setup, or even a 2-3-4-4 setup, something 2 at the start rather than 1, and switching off of the 1-2-3-4 locked ordering could seriously add to the value of those characters. Seriously add to them. Yeah. I don't think there's many characters in here that would strictly want to be 1-2 and then 1-2-3. There's not many. Maybe Octavia. I think Octavia can get away with that. Her 1 and 2 are a pretty solid combo. But yeah, most of the rest of them, they would want a bit more variety overall, wouldn't they? Given the option. Alright. Yeah, I think that covers my general thoughts on that. I won't make any changes to the D&D document. That is done for all intents and purposes. I will be adding Noko, or rather Noko I'm doing up as a separate PDF. I'll be putting it alongside the existing one, rather than rebuilding the whole thing. And I'll be honest, part of that is because of Imgur exiting the UK and screwing up the PDF a little bit. I still have all the hard-baked files, it's a lot more effort to put it together again that way properly. Screw you, Imgur. It was so much easier to reference before. No, I could still recombine it outside it separately. I'll think on that. I'll come back to you all on that. From 1800Tankem, what are your thoughts on the Nullstar Harrow Prime build? How can you make it dumb strong? It sounds like you're asking about a build that someone else has made. I'll be quite honest, Tankem. And you're looking to how to make a build someone else made for you strong. I would strongly recommend you go back to them on this one. I'm not just chucking you away on that. I want to be clear. It's like, if someone had one of my builds and took it to someone else, was like, oh, how am I supposed to do this? I would expect them to come to me. Just say, no, you're looking at a Kengineer build, ask Kengineer. In this case, you're asking about a not Kengineer build. So whoever you've got it from, they're probably the best person to ask. See what they've got to say about how you can make it dumb strong. That Fast Sherman's awesome. Oh, thank you. I'll be honest, I had to choose a signed honor and a couple attachments here or there, yeah. But mostly it came down to, I went in, Noko has this weird mushroom alien vibe going on with it, and I immediately thought of, Mazcab from RuneScape. So I took a screenshot of Mazcab and used that as a colour palette. And I gotta say, it did work. It straight up just worked. The Laval Signal looks great. It does, doesn't it? Gives him a face, but it's not a clear... It's not eyeballs, smiley face. It's still unsettlingly inhuman face. But it still gives him a face. Like, you see it on the Cypher mode. Actually, why do I need to see it on the Cypher mode? I can... Let's full select that. Yeah, if I took that off... I mean, sure, he's got the cracks, striations, whatever you want to call the splits to make something of a face. That brings it alive. That brings it alive. Gobies? Yeah. The problem is they haven't been active since 2022. Okay, so Tankum, you're looking at a build that is 3 years old. I have to stress at this point, there is a good chance that one or more moving parts of that build no longer work the way that person hoped they did. There is a very real risk of that. Not saying it's guaranteed, but if you're looking at a build from someone who has been inactive for 3 years, things have changed a bit. Just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Right. I've wrapped you up on the whole tabletop side of things, but I appreciate all y'all input on that. I'm going to put these back on the shelf where they belong for now. Let me just back. You might also be wondering why I have 3 of them. I'll be quite honest, I'm wondering the same thing. But a peg makes sure the pages don't all collectively bargain themselves off the shelf. I'll cover that more later. But yeah, give me plenty to think on in terms of potential tabletop D&D expanding beyond Warframe. As I say, no guarantees on anything at this point in time. I would once again need to make sure I have all of the permissions fully cleared on that before I even begin touching it. But there is potential. There is potential. It's saying Nullstar did get nerfed as a cooldown on the augment shoot the stars. That might be it then. Alright. Hello, Joker. Welcome in. Alright, so heavy weapons. I had a look at the Warzone, which honestly still remains one of my favourite of the heavy weapons just outright. Had a look at the Arbocep, which honestly, the sheer damage potential slaps, but the actual application drops down a lot. So, in terms of reliability, I dare say Morsey still ends up probably winning there. Also, The Warzy has a much longer general uptime, you don't feel like you're reloading anywhere near as much, and has an alt fire, which I didn't even take into account there, just because we know the alt fire is basically the point and delete button. So there is that. There is indeed that. So, which weapon do we compare next? Have I considered doing a fashion video? I considered it for all of 0.2 seconds before I remembered, oh wait, I'm pretty bad at fashion. I have occasional wins, but mostly I'm the numbers guy. I'll leave fashion to people who actually know fashion. I spent 2 decades in the closet and learned nothing. Fashion is not my area. Alright, Zomp saying Larkspur or Grattler are big ones as far as I know. Okay, going straight to the meta. Love it. No change from Zomb's usual tone, that's fine. Miralabe thinking Grattler. Dragon Mace saying Hildren's Gun. Is that Larkspur? I think that's Larkspur. Yeah, that's Larkspur. So, we got 2 votes for Larkspur, 2 votes for Grattler. Zom gets 2 votes because moderator privileges. That's gonna say, maybe it's you're just putting yourself down and people would like your fashion? Maybe. Maybe. The Death Scholar, should I open up one of the Warframe Discords and have a look what they say about my fashion? I just want to let you know, I've already looked. And it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. Is Arbstep a good weapon to use against Profit Taker, asks Baby Heeple? Imagine because multiple damage types it can be really effective. I would imagine quite the opposite. The multiple damage types are not why you use an Archgun at any point against Profit Taker. Because Profit Taker, despite the switching types on the shield, you're hitting the shield specifically at the point of... No, just anywhere on her, not the legs, with any weapon. When it comes to heavy weapons, they probably aren't up to spec compared to your best other weapons. And you'll only be getting less than 1/6 of your damage from that Archgun at any point in time as a result of it having such a wide and wild spread of types. Much less than 1/6, actually. Yeah, now to respond. Ads! Oh no! Whatever will we do? You know what to do. I say to everyone who doesn't have ads because they've already subscribed. We'll get back to that one, I think. Let's see. Who's got a question who also has a subscriber badge? Let's go with those first. Those aren't questions. Those are all just people recommending different Archguns. Okay. I'm seeing more on the Grattler than anything else. I think Grattler's going to be the way to go.
Magical.
Yo!
Fairy Grendel smile.
Yes. Thank you, Miralabe. That is a good reminder to anyone who thinks I make good fashion. Anyone who thinks I make good fashion should be reminded that I do indeed have Grendel. And you might think, oh, what's wrong with Grendel? Grendel's fine, right? I mean, I haven't fashioned Grendel Prime at all because I don't use Grendel enough to care. My Grendel looks fine, yeah? But this is not the first Grendel fashion I made. No. Now, this was the update. This was the original. Oh, we've changed the appearance, changed the stance on it. I don't remember when I changed that one. Welcome to Fairy Grendel. Fairy Grendel has an emote on the channel. Oh, yes. And Fairy Grendel used to not use Dante's skin. No. Not Dante's moveset. This is what Fairy Grendel is usually using. Oh, you've got to admire it in full there. You've got to admire how various pits just clip into each other because there's just so much mass here. So much Grendel. That you just can't get it all on the screen. This is Fairy Grendel. Oh, yeah. Have I tried the new wings from QTCC? I have not. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've opened this skin in months, because it is an abomination and probably should be removed from existence. No, that's not what I was looking for. Where am I looking? I don't know the name of them. If I search wings, it probably won't work. Is it even in ephemera? Yeah, it's definitely not insignia. It's not ephemera, it's a Syndana. Oh, we're gonna double wing action. Okay. Hold the line. Oh, that's actually really pathetic. Let's change up the energy a moment. We can make this better. There we go. That's 200%. I mean, it looks objectively worse now, I'll be honest. It does look worse. But I dare say they look just bad worse rather than look at the Fairy Grendel worse. I don't know, it just somehow cheapens it. The whole point of Fairy Grendel is that it's ugly, but coherently incoherent level of ugly. I don't think that one lands it. Where was the goddamn Syndana I had? It's one of the ones down here. Oh god, that's horrible. Was it that one? Shit, I can't remember which one it was now. Ah! There it is. There it is. Grendel's all about that excess after all? Yeah. I think it's just the absolute eyesore cape that is also acting like the world's worst clipping bit of... What's the word I'm looking for? Damn it, I've completely lost a word. Oh well, doesn't matter anymore. That's it. I've run out of words. Close down the channel. Delete the website. Undo the Patreon. I've completely run out of words. But yeah, point is, I can make passable fashions, but in terms... Oh god, that is a cursed combination of things. I can make some passable fashions, but in terms of a whole video of fashion, there's just better people than me for it. I can make silly things, I can make decent things, but I just don't have the expertise to carry a video. I just don't. And it would be, frankly, insulting to do so. Insulting to you, the viewer, let alone people who have actual fashion sense. Now, I'll stick with the objective numbers. Numbers I can do. We don't measure ourselves by slop Dragon Mage. We don't measure ourselves by slop. Okay, so I think there was an overwhelming amount of support for Gratler. They'll get our next looking. So let's indeed do that. Let's slap on some adapters, because adapters are fun. Now with Gratler, is this bomblets? What am I looking at here? Hold on, what am I looking at here? I'm getting spam smiley faces. Alright, Birley, point taken. What's going on here? What? What? It's Gravimags. Yes, we're aware of this, but But Gratler. Gratler first. What is this? How many other places do I need to check? There's no... we've had the £10 tip. We talked about that. You already complained about your gift subs being where they are. I'm not seeing any change in the top clips. You fell off your chair laughing. Never have I wanted to time out Mirrorlade before like this, but it's there. Donovan Bay saying, do you think DE should shorten the Kuvalich weapon grind to make it more in tune with systems and tech rots? They could do that. I'm not really going to weigh in on that one, other than they could consider making the Requiem mods more accessible, because getting started is a hell of a pain in comparison to doing the next one. But that about it. Anything more than that, I leave that entirely within the remit of people who just feel like asking DE for buffs to everything. Anyway, Arcanes. Now, with the Kuva Gratler does all these grattling things. If I just go Kuva Gratler on the wiki, just to make sure I'm reading actual proper stats, we got projectile impact, explosion, 2 stat blocks. Is this why Mirrorlade fell out of their seat? Or is it because I looked at this damage block down here going, what the fuck is happening? And Mirrorlade knows that it's a whole load of BS down there. I'm getting the impression that is the case. Also, does this... Wiki is also saying other interesting things here, which is not adding up. Base damage 50, base damage 155. Damage into radial damage 50 to 155. Okay, oh, wrong one. Right? $50 to 155 does not end up with a ratio of 200 to 363. And God knows what this thing down here is. Maybe it is bomblets. Maybe... Okay, I'm gonna... Search the word bomblet. Nope, nothing of that came up on the Kuva Gratler page. Is there an atmospheric page? Oh, wait, there's a tab. The tab only explains that these now have a ratio of 140 to 235, apparently. And I've got just a bonus applied, so 363.7 divided by 235 times 140 would be 216.7, 216.7. Okay, so yeah, this is the atmospheric ratio. The atmospheric ratio of damage is just different to the non-atmospheric ratio of damage for reasons. Okay, but they're still listing. Hold on. Mirrorlade, thank you very much for the gifted sub over to Ductile Will of the 465 variety. Much appreciated. Cheers. You don't see a third attack on the wiki either? Yeah, I haven't seen it in 2 different spots on the wiki, so we're going to do the next smartest thing, which is to just go shoot something. You know? If you got a gun and you're not sure how well it handles, take it to the firing range. So, we'll go to the firing range. Let's grab a single enemy to narrow down what's happening here. Let's just grab a single bombard, because we haven't, you know, bullied them enough yet today. Donk. Yes, Mirrorlade, but deals damage if you shoot enemy. If I did a video... Oh, fucking... If I did a video which consisted of, hi, yes, this is weapon, it deal damage, it shoot enemy, happy? People would in fact not be happy. Okay, so... Bombard... Oh, fuck. And we try again with the third bombard. Just, hello there. Goodbye. So if I shoot you directly, I see 2 damage numbers. 1 damage number. What do you mean I'm mostly seeing one? Where did the 2 damage numbers? 2 damage numbers with heat proc. Two. How was I getting 1s before then? What the? Is it a punch through thing? Oh my god, it might actually be a punch through thing. It's a punch through thing. This thing gets punched through? Are you having me on right now? What? It specifically says it's locked. What is this? It's bugged to have infinite enemy punch through, says Mobot. Is this a known fact, Mobot? Is this a known fact? You stated that as you think it's true. Yeah, it's definitely going through his leg and hitting that. Fuck me. Alright, yeah, let's spawn in 20 of these bastards. Let's grab... And we'll stick with the bombards because they are relatively fat units. Okay. Okay. And just to confirm, although my AoE might be a little bit too big for such a confirmation, you know what? From here, smallest corner of punch through. Definitely no. So it's locked to 0 punch through, except when it's shooting through enemies, whereupon it will punch through, completely negating the explosion. Because the explosion will just happen later behind them. This is not explained anywhere on the weapon, and I still haven't seen what this is. Alright, yes, I'm aware of that bit as well. I'm just going to do some quick digging here. Bear with me a moment. Imperator. Atmospheric mode. Nope, that's not the atmospheric mode stats. Okay. Bratton Mark 1 Bratton. Not quite. No. Purus? Mark 1? Nope. I don't know where these weapon stats are coming from. I don't know what weapon they have got a 0% crit chance, 2 times crit damage, which look like default numbers to me, 10% status, with a perfect IP split. All of that heat is just coming from the valence bonus. I don't know what weapon has these stats. I think these are placeholder stats, dare I say. Because that would be 20 damage perfect. Or maybe the explosion? That's not the explosion. The explosion is this bit here. So you got the hit, the explosion, the... direct damage. AoE damage, psychic damage. Punch through? Punch through, funnily enough, does not have a separate damage stat. That is not how punch through works. Not now, not ever, not at any part throughout the entire timeline of Warframe. Not since 1998 through to present. Oh yes, Drifter could go back an extra year on this one and still find that punch through does not do that. No, what we have here is... And I must pardon my French in advance, but what we have here is fucking bullshit. Does my companion have the crit bond mod, and is it showing in the arsenal? Let's just take off my companion entirely, reload the arsenal, and then reload the setup here. Does that make a difference? Not a goddamn thing. So no, is the answer on that one. Okay, not a fan. Not a fan. Now, in terms of how this operates, it appears to be near enough, if not actually hit scan. Let's just have a look. Let's just fire through an entire line of them again. Nope, that's not hit scan, Ken. That's definitely a projectile. Okay. And with a huge AoE on the projectile, you might know what I'm thinking. This one's an Innovate. This one feels like it wants to be an Innovate. So, let's grab Innovate. Bam. Let's grab some kind of crit boost. Let's just throw some Blight on for now. I probably need to revalence it if I wanted to really benefit from that, but let's just go over this for now. Let's see. So... Only there was a better option here. No Frostbite and Shiver? Alright, Hilly Zen. Hilly Zen. Let's see. That's another mark on the list of people asking me why I'm not doing something completely different from what I'm currently doing during a testing stream. Weirdly, you're only person number 2. But you're on the list now. Let me build. And then we can talk about other builds. Alright. It's alright. It's just, you know, I mean, you've got a bronze badge. You've been here long enough. It's a testing build. Let me build. Again, I just need to do the thing here. Still testing. There we are. Right. So, where was I? Trying to figure out the first mods to put on this to change it after putting on Arcanes for the first time in my life on this thing. It's currently using 60-60 Viral with a 60% heat. Alright, then let's take off the crit chance because we're not going to need that one anymore. We got Innovate we're going for. Let's go, if we go for Don't really like this. We'll go a different rate on the crit damage then. We'll go a different route on that. Let's get pure damage out of this. So, let's just go with good old Merciless, honestly. No mercy with Merciless. For crits then, we can instead use Critical Focus, Crit Chance, and Damage whilst aiming. The Crit Chance isn't really helping us, though. Although there's a hell of a lot of Crit Chance built in. Hard to say. Hard to say. Alright. Could Frostbite be good? Promise is getting the cold on there to be useful. That is part of the problem. I suppose in the meantime, whilst I'm figuring things out, I can just do this. And that should give us cold gas. Not a fan, but we can try it. Go with that. And then, what was it? It was Prime Deadly Efficiency. This is going to be a pain in the ass to fit. One more time. Ta-da! There we go. Okay. Still sticking with 60-60s for now. Honestly, considering I need the cold statuses, not a bad shout. Let's roll with that. Boulder shot. Alright, we got that one. There we go. Prime, prime, prime. Loving that. Okay. Let's roll with this. How quickly do that kill? Someone else about to recommend something that doesn't exist for this gun? Oh dear. What's wrong with corrosive cold? Nothing in particular except... Right, it depends on just how you're trying to kill stuff, really. But yeah. We'll just roll with this and just see what happens. Anyway. Not bad at a distance. Oh, hey. Okay. Recoil is important. I mean, if you hate that stuff, then yeah. I have an alternative for you. If you hate recoil, I do have an alternative for you. Alright? Some may call this cursed. Me, I call it choices. Let's just, if you don't like recoil, you can do this. That really does look weird. That looks really weird. A weapon so heavy looking shouldn't move like that. Let's copy over most of the build over to that. But then go the double deadhead approach. How would you do the rest of it if you're going double deadhead? So this will come out, this will come out. We need our crits back. This can move over for a moment. So we're going to have a parallax scope in there. There we go. And I suppose a critical focus. Yep, there we are. Yo, Bren of the 1357 variety. Much appreciated with the prime there. Welcome in with that lovely blue sub badge you got there. Cheers. If we're going to go this route, we also don't need to go for that weird cold fix. So we can just do this again. There we go. Back to viral heat. Beautiful stuff. Malacito's thinking the same thing. Kidonk. Kill! That was without a single stack of deadhead. That is a problem. Let's try and get that stack. There we go. As soon as I aimed it, things blew up. Okay! We might be cooking with gas with this one! Bonk. 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 These are corrupted bombards. That's pretty nice. Alright, let's get something a little bit beefier. Because we were previously testing against something a little bit of a more Drekka variety. A Drekka Manic Bombard. They have a few more hit points. So let's give that a try. Yeah, total clearance. Not bad. Not bad. But we can do better. We can do better. So let's just, you know, I slipped. Spawn in the next bunch of them and just kind of pop ourselves over here. Don't mind me. Nothing to worry about. That wasn't very clean. Let me try that again. Better. Better. But can we go further? Would something else be more appropriate here? Something perhaps a little more uniquely Lavosian. Oh yeah, that one magged it. That one magged it. Alright. That was a lot of gas? That was a lot of gas. That was a triple beam burrito load of gas right there. Now, we've also got Dragon Mage going. You could always go like Crux and Cascadia Flare. Okay, that's another on the list. There we go. It's a good thing I don't have access to a Death Note. Imagine looking at someone demonstrating a full Deadhead setup when someone asked about recoil, mentioned about recoil, when we'd already done other bits already, and we're still in motherfucking testing. Don't give me that you could always go like, we're in the process, we're doing things. But yes, you can indeed do a Crux Flare, like we did on the previous Archgun. All the same. Yeah. You're just suggesting? Everyone's just suggesting. That's the thing, Dragon Mage. Everyone's just suggesting. How dare one interact with what the streamer is doing and talk about the build they're currently testing and showcasing. We've got to immediately look to the next thing and talk about how that is also something definitely to do, just in case Kenjineer forgets these arcanes exist. That is how it comes across. And I know it's not how you intend it, and I know I'm overdoing the point here. It's a flaw of mine, one that I should probably work on. But it happens every single time I show any amount of testing on the stream. Every single time. Yeah. Right. Let's copy this over. No, copy this over as a base point. To there. Override. Never thought of it like that. Every single person who is just suggesting things has never thought of it like that, Dragon Mage. Every single person. Which is part of why I need to mitigate how I handle my response on it. Because it's never going to change. At least. The next new viewer is never going to change. You are. But the next person won't. Okay, so yeah, it was a whole, oh, look at Crux and Flare, you know. To the surprise of, where did it go? Absolutely no one. Does a heat viral Crux Flare approach give you a bunch of damagey doodads in bits and pieces? Granted, we'll also now need to get our actual damage back in. And yeah, I think that's how it shakes out with this approach. Yeah, it is. Cool. If I am actively missing something obvious in the moment, hell yeah, point it out. If I'm, like, equipping Frostbite, but I don't have any cold damage whatsoever, sure, go for it. If, however, I'm actively testing one thing, and we're immediately going, oh, but what about these other things? Or starting talking about status selection when I'm actively testing out an arcane, then it's like, come on. Come on, let me have my moment. I mean, got there. Got there. Let's swap to that. Hey. Okay, so now let's aim a little bit more on those headshots. What element to choose for first Grappler? It doesn't matter, you can change it later. If I had to pick one frame to take on every mission, what would it be? Lavos. These are questions I could easily answer. More easy questions, great. For this weapon that wants to be hitting the AoEs and has that awkward punch through, the headshots kind of to keep up with the whole efficiency thing, just to allow us to fire more shots, I'm not sold on it, I'll be honest. I'm not sold on it. Pancakes or waffles? Why is it a dichotomy? Is heat the default valence element? Seems like it's by far the best basic element for damage over time, just because it makes enemies float around, melts armor, refreshes itself, feel like Toxin get another thing it does. Says Moose. Toxin deals damage over time, completely bypasses shields. And also, Toxin can be put alongside Magnetic, but you're already bypassing shields. Yeah, heat is a really over-invested element. Let's be real, it's got a hell of a lot behind it, so yeah. Heat is usually a good valence. Magnetic, if you really have no idea what you want to do with a weapon, but heat is usually a good one. And if you don't know otherwise, well, for everything that was Kuva and Tenet weapons, I have a guide over on YouTube as well as to which ones to pick, although it is out of date because they changed how all the elements work, so never mind. Magnetic and heat, if you don't know better. Magnetic or heat. Sorry, or. Is the body punch through a bug or a feature? It has to be a fucking bug. It has to be. Ain't no way it's intended like it is. Ain't no way. Hey guys, I got some gunnery. Do you want like some guns ahead? Thanks. This does not appear to be dealing damage in the way that it was earlier. Did I change something? I must have changed something. Shit, this fucker's still alive. Never mind. He fixed it. Maybe it wasn't that build that you enjoyed. Maybe it was this build you enjoyed. Gotta get the stacks up, so bear with. I mean, that definitely killed stuff faster there. But now we got the stacks up. Did I kill them all? Is he gonna die? Is he gonna die? Is he gonna die? Oh, fuck you, mate. Now. Didn't I replace the mod, put damage instead? Oh, bollocks, wrong thing. Alright, so, no, that one's correct. That one is correct. That one is... That one's incorrect. That should be that. Yeah. But these first two are still those two as this, yeah. Double 360 acceleration type damage increase? Yeah, they've also got the headshot bonus, but we're not really using that too much. But it's the steadiness of it. For those who hate recoil. Item can't be used. Fucking game. Right then. Now do bear in mind this is Lavos with Valence Formation, which really does Kirk on this. From Shobi, I haven't played Warframe in a while and just wondering where frames are at. I like the look of Cytonine and Styanax. What are your thoughts on them, if you don't mind my asking? Jellyfish has already done my first point to call, which would be go check out the guide I have on Cytonine. So there you are, go check out the guide. Thank you very much there, Jellyfish. The Styanax one will be quite a bit more out of date at this point because more things have come out in terms of augments and whatnot to change up what Styanax is capable of. Yeah, Styanax was 50th Warframe. We're up to what, 63 now? 62? I've lost track. So if something is a dozen Warframes ago, the original guide is definitely out of date. The game has changed since then. But yeah, you can grab every Warframe and you can make it your own. You can work in all different ways. It's more about understanding what the Warframe is capable of and when and where and how to use it. Styanax, for example, with the appropriate augment setup, can be an incredible tank, not just for themselves, but for the entire team. Which is not what you may expect when you first look at Styanax as a setup. Likewise, with Cytonine can get some incredible bits and pieces done. It's more about understanding where, when, and how to use them, what they're weak to. Surprisingly, the Sniper is very bad at assassinating. Go figure. Alright, so if we pop this over to the lad again. Donk. Hey guys, would you like a little bit of... Oops. Hold on. Oh, it's gonna knock a few down. Whatever, they'll get up again. It's fine. Alright then. Bump, 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 bump. Yeah, I think it's fair to say this is just the better setup. You can do all the messing you like to do with these things. You can try to make all these cute little bits and pieces working, but to be quite honest, yeah, the Crux Flare standard still just works. Because Flare is still a 480% damage bonus, and Crux is still a huge status output increase on top of the ammo efficiency. It's just better. The Deadhead would be better if the explosion actually happened when you hit the head, rather than the bullet going straight through, off into the sky, unhelpfully. And with the Frostbite Innovate setup, first of all, you need to then have cold coming out for your Frostbite. And Innovate theoretically can get you some goodies done, but as you've seen, in this particular case, it's not as good. What I'm going to do here is another gas approach and just kind of aim at the bottom there to try emphasis, try and get the full effect. Now, it looks like my damage is stopping from time to time. I think that's actually just the crit reset. And because the way the game doesn't want to show you low tier crits when you got high tier crits on screen, I think it was actually just hiding some of my damage. Because you see there's no such pause now. Now there's far fewer enemies. But that's still just not it. Looks like it doesn't gain the same buggy interaction as the compressor. One, it's not a bug, and two, yes it does. I hit red crits. If you read the theory of the arcane, I shouldn't hit red crits, but it does. But yeah, the third setup is just win. From Sloth, first time chat, say, hey chat, so I'm brand new, but looking for a frame that just kind of passively deletes everything, like Righteous Fire from Path of Exile, I think. Bunny from The First Descendant, I want to say. Or Riven from Do Not Authorize. Does this game have anything like that? Having played none of those games, I can't say. However, it looks like some other people already have you some ideas in terms of Octavia. So let me walk you through Octavia then, Sloth. Some people seem to be thinking Octavia is the way to go for you. It's kind of weird that that's just Octavia, but I guess what you're describing to them sounds like a very passive frame. Don't listen to Mirror Ape has a particular passion. So, Octavia, first ability for you, Sloth. we happen to be in a space we could demonstrate. Octavia's first ability, you pop down an orb, and it creates this thing, this weird ring. Enemies are attracted to shoot at that instead of you. Not entirely, but most of the time, they'll shoot at that instead of you. And when they shoot it, all the enemies in the ring will be reflected that damage back with an amplifier. So you set one down, and the enemies just kind of walk into it and murderize themselves and their friends on it. But waiting for them to walk into it is kind of silly. So we set down the second ability, it picks it up, and then it'll roll around towards enemies. I've got none spawned at the moment, but it now brings the zone to them, adding to the effect. And you can see you can get some pretty decent durations on them. Third ability, you can do various things, but the only thing everyone cares about is you teabag and you go invisible. You teabag and go invisible is basically the use case for the three. The whole team can benefit from that. And then fourth is just a straight up damage buff in the area. See that whole area? Everything the light touches, we deal more damage in now. And as someone's pointing out, I currently have the sound off for this frame because I've got it set up in a very cheesy and therefore horrible sounding way. However, what you can do is you can make it do this. No one else take this moment from me. You can make it do this. That is an in-game tune I composed myself. Played by this character. You can have that playing on loop forever, killing your enemies with Baby Shark. Whilst teabagging as an invisible dancer, Octavia. I don't know what characters you are referencing in those other games, but based on the first couple of people to respond to you, apparently that's something to look at. Yeah. Yeah, and that's all I can give you on that one. With no other reference point, just here's your dancing musician bringing the beat of death. Mix your own music or copy from someone else, matters not to me. And yeah, that's just one of 63 frames. There's options. You could literally do a new option every single week and you would still have more to do by this time next year, not even counting the updates. Take your pick. Right, chat. We've done a lot of looking at art guns. The Kuva Grattler still annoys me for what we've discovered there. Not least of which in the punch through, but also whatever that weird third damage stat is that doesn't exist. This will haunt me. My camera is blocking half of it. How lucky for you. But still, we've had a look at some of the art gun stuff. There's still plenty more to look at, and that we will get to in due time. But for now, I think it's about time we do a giveaway. Oh, yes, indeed. We get to loop ourselves around to this wonderful, wonderful moment where we do attend to giveaways. Let me just get that loaded up. Won't make a second. That should pop up in screen. Almost timed that perfectly. Alright. Let's do a nice and simple 75 platinum giveaway courtesy of D. I'm going to open the door. Exclamation mark enter is the way to enter onto that. Let's get my camera out of the way a moment, actually. Yay, it's working this time! Huzzah! Exclamation mark enter if you'd like a chance to win 75 platinum. It doesn't matter if you're brand new to the channel or if you've been here for years. How sad. Still trying after years. No, it's fine. Everyone's got the same chance of winning. Everyone can enter on in. And if you are indeed seeing a fashion you would like to copy, exclamation mark avatar can show you the full catalogue of avatars you can copy. Some of them are exclusive to the person who submitted them. The rest are available for you to use. So long as you are either a subscriber or VIP, you can set your avatar with exclamation mark pick frame, picking from the list available there. But it doesn't affect your chances of winning. It's just a skin. The vast majority of you... Well, actually, it's not a vast majority these days. The modal frame we're seeing here is still Lavos Prime, and Lavos Prime is plenty strong enough for you to still be a potential winner. Oh, yes, indeed. So we'll give you all a final moment to enter in on the 75 plat giveaway. Exclamation mark enter for a chance to win that 75 plat right here. And just as a note of reference, I am also paying attention to how many people enter in on this compared to how many people entered in on the old ticket system. This is so far confirming my exact suspicions that the majority of people who would enter at the end of the stream anyway. The majority would enter at the end, regardless. Because we've recently done quite a few of these, and outside of streams where we just had a bunch of extra people in, we were looking at 60 to 80 entrants throughout the whole stream. Considering we've got 52 here right now, there's not a huge number of people missing out on that, as far as I'm concerned. Not a huge number missing out. So, to enjoy the program, to enjoy seeing all the shiny shinies, that's why I say it's worth it this way. It's worth the trade-off. Malicitos switching up their frame to Rhino for the next one. Looks good. Waiting for all the trouble to set this up. Exactly, Zom. This took me many, many hours to build, and then more hours to implement everyone's choice fashion after QTCC. Yeah. It is what it is on that. Alright then. Let's do the draw. Who's going to win the 75 Platinum? Draw runs now. Right then, let's see how this goes. It's not going to be Scravy Gravy, it's not going to be Logren, it's not going to be Calm, it's not going to be Mobot, it's not Flowing Thoughts. I've got to say goodbye to Malicitos on that one there. Fireline has been removed. LU taken out of the sky. Crescendo Fury. Fury was not powerful enough to beat this boss. Ductile Wheel. We've been winning out. Our winner, by a miracle, is Miracle Raven. I'm going to stop with the name puns.
Tenno. The extraction point is up ahead.
Congratulations there, Miracle Raven. You are our winner today of the 75 plat giveaway. And it looks like I already have your details loaded into the program. You've already submitted your information through the IGN command, so there's nothing more you need to do. Miracle Raven, that will pop into your inbox with the next batch that DE send out. I believe the next batch is due in like a week or so? They do them every 2 weeks, so within 2 weeks, that'll be in your inbox, guaranteed. That's the way I can say it these days, that's easier. I was also decode that. I did a decode that, Dr. Q. I took the screenshots of the enemy, of the enemy singular. I took the screenshot of the arena where I wanted it to be. That was fun trying to take. All the setup of the arena, handling of the code in and out, the names and whatnot. Yeah. The whole shebang. It was a fun project. Number of bugs, fixed the bugs, got there in the end. It was a wonderful project. You somehow never noticed the giant ass extraction symbol? Yeah, because who pays attention to waypoints in Warframe? It's not like Lotus announces extraction is ready and then the character slides off towards extraction. It's been there the entire time, every single giveaway since this launched. It's always been there. But hey ho, there it is. Alright. But we're not going to run any more of that. That is where we are going to wrap up on that there. So it's about time we head on over to another part of the Warframe community. So let's have a look then. Who can we read on over to today? This is the eternal question when it comes to the end of these streams, and I never have an answer prepared because that's just how it goes, isn't it? I'm too busy doing my own stuff, not watching other people. So in the Warframe category, who do we want to pop into say hello to today? We've said hello to Gaz a lot frequently, and Gaz has said hello to us. More mockingly, but, you know, it's fine. It is what it is. So, we could go over to Sliverito. They are definitely an option we could pop to. We've been to them before now. I just can't remember much as to what we experienced there. Sad to say. We did go to Barney Jack more recently that I can remember what happened when we went over. Sunny was a little bit of a sensory overload. Outside of that, not a lot of other names or faces I recognize. So yeah. How about we head on over to Sliverito? I'm just going to get their side loaded up on here so I can copy paste the name and make sure I do not get it wrong. Because who would do that? And There we go. Looks like that's all working properly. We're going to be running on over to a Sliverito now. Looks like they're in the midst of them on a Netracell. Oh, that's going to be fun. I hope they have plenty of good time with that. But that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'll see you again on Wednesday for some more good old Warframe. But in the meantime, for a good start to your week, catch you in the next one. Bye!